You want to be on? You want to be on?
Yes, please.
Ready when you are.
Okay, great. Everybody good? I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Moore,
Present?
Councilwoman McNamara.
Present.
Councilman Isilli.
Present.
Councilman Pell.
Present.
Councilman Martell.
Present.
Thank you. I move to accept the minutes from the Town Board meeting of July 22nd, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, would you please read the communications?
The following communications have been received in the office of the town clerk. We have received public notices from the town of Riverhead, notice of adoptions, town of Southold, notice of adoption, village of North Haven, public hearing notice and a notice of adoption, village of Sagaponack, village board notice of adoption, zoning board of appeals application for Wainscott Harbor Road, Sagaponack, village of West Hampton Dunes, a public hearing notice, annual financial disclosure statement filings from the listed individuals, correspondence in emails and letters regarding the following: Hampton Bays Library budget vote, speeding traffic on West Neck Road, Tuckahoe, and tree protection legislation. The following bid and request for proposals was opened up on Wednesday, July 30th at 2 p.m. A bid for the Southampton Animal Shelter kennel replacement. The following report was filed from the Town Comptroller for the July 2025 monthly financial report. And that concludes the communications for this meeting's agenda.
Thank you. I have three walk-ons that I'd like to put forward for additions to the agenda. The first is Town Board Resolution ID number 49393 to commence seeker and coordinate lead agency in connection with the change of zone change application entitled Mariner Housing LLC for a change from CR 200 to multifamily MF 44 on an 8.85 acre parcel in order to facilitate the development of 34 units of affordable rental housing in the hamlet of North Sea. The second walk-on is Town Board Resolution ID number 50636, the warrant number 15. And the third walk-on is Town Board Resolution ID number 50638 to authorize the supervisor to execute a donation agreement with the Hampton Bays Chamber of Commerce for a donation of 6 shell statues. I move to add those to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who was the second?
Bill. I was. Oh, Rick. Rick was.
No, Bill was.
Well, I would like to move to suspend the rules and take Resolution 2025-984 out of order. It's on page 53. It's a special treat to appoint Police Officer Tyjon Hawkins.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who was second?
Cindy, who's starting the academy on Monday. Is that correct, Chief?
Yes, he'll be starting, he's not the chief yet. He'll be starting on Monday. Supervisor Moore, Town Council, thank you very much for having us on your agenda this afternoon. This is Tyjon Hawkins. Tyjon grew up right here in our town in Hamlet of Flanders. He's a graduate of Riverhead High School and a graduate of Alfred University. Tyjon got a 95 on the Suffolk County Police test, and he had his choice of departments, basically, and he decided to choose us, and we chose him. It's we're very happy. He's very happy. He's been serving us as a part-timer for the last 3 years in the village of Sagaponack. He works very hard to keep the speeds down in Sagaponack for folks there, and now he's going to join the best police force in the state of New York as a full-time police officer. So, to Tyjon, I say, as a law enforcement officer, your fundamental duty is to serve others. You're to safeguard lives and property, to protect the innocent against deception, the weak against oppression and intimidation, and the peaceful against violence or disorder. To respect the constitutional rights of all individuals, to liberty, equality, and justice. You're to maintain courageous calm in the face of danger, scorn, or ridicule. develop self-restraint, and be consistently mindful of the welfare of others, honest in thought and deed in both your personal life and your official life. You'll never act officiously or permit personal feelings, prejudices, or friendships to influence your decisions. With no compromise for crime and with relentless prosecution of criminals, you will enforce the law courteously and appropriately, without fear or favor, malice or will, never employing unnecessary force or violence. You'll recognize this badge that you're about to be sworn in and given, the badge of the office, as a symbol of public faith, and you'll accept it as a public trust to be held so strong and long as you are true to ethics of the police service. You'll continuously strive to achieve these objectives and ideals, dedicating yourself to this great profession. If you don't mind, you're going to be sworn in by
We have to pass the resolution
Yeah, we have
first.
to do the resolution first.
Stay here.
Okay. Town Board Resolution 2025-984 to appoint Police Officer Tyjon Hawkins to the Academy.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now you.
Please raise your right hand.
Hey, Keith, can you get a bit closer?
I state your name.
I, Tyjon Hawkins,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Southampton Town Code,
and the Southampton Town
and
Code,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of police officer
of police officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my
So
ability.
help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Excellent.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard.
Oh, I'm kidding.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Congratulations. Thank you. Welcome aboard. Thank you.
Want to put your butt this way or that way? Or?
That's great. Okay, it's the 12th, right?
Can I just say, Chief, if
Thank
you don't,
you, Chief.
if before you leave, I just want to, if you don't mind, to you and your colleagues, just a quick couple of words. I just want to thank you and your police force, especially this week. I noticed, we get a lot of complaints from the community about speeding and stuff like that. I just want to say I saw you guys out in numbers this past week, and I know it's been difficult. Try to mobilize resources is not always easy, especially when you have a lot of needs around the town. But I have to say I saw a number of officers out patrolling, and one caught a speeder. I saw them come right out of a curb cut, and let me tell you, they got right on him and pulled him over. So thank you. Thank you very much.
And on top of that, I want to say thank you because I did see a lot of press releases for Flanders and Riverside this weekend, so that's much appreciated as well. So thank you.
And Chief, big question. Have you copyrighted that greatest police force in the state of New York yet? Have you copyrighted that
Say
yet?
that a lot.
I think we should. I think we should.
But it is very true.
It's terrific, and I appreciate everything your whole department does on a daily basis, so thank you for that. Officer Hawkins, I want to congratulate you and welcome you. It's important what the chief says, that not only did you find him, but we found you. And you have the support of not only your chief, your police department, but also this town board. And we look forward to working with you for many years to come. Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'll send the pictures over to you in a few minutes.
All right, let's continue now with our meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the first public hearing?
Certainly. Public hearing number 1, to consider establishing a park district known as the East Quogue Park District in the hamlet of East Quogue.
Good afternoon, Madam Supervisor, members of the Town Board, Deputy Town Attorney Kathleen Murray for the record. For your consideration at this public hearing is the establishment of a proposed park district known as the East Quogue Park District. As you likely know by now, New York State Town Law Article 12A authorizes the establishment of special improvement districts, also known as special assessment districts, in furtherance of specific purposes. A park district is one such purpose, with monies collected from a special assessment devoted to the proper maintenance of park or park areas for the use, convenience, and enjoyment of the inhabitants of such park district. Other existing park districts within the town include the Hampton Bays Park District, the Bridgehampton Park District, and the Watermill Park District. With those park districts in mind, earlier this year, members of the East Quogue Civic Association, as well as the East Quogue Beautification Committee, approached the town seeking to establish a park district within the hamlet of East Quogue. Specifically, community members hope to create a park district in order to replace the trees on Main Street with native species, improve the East Quogue Village Green, maintain hanging baskets and urns along Main Street, provide seasonal enhancements for the Village Green and Main Street, and maintain the gardens of the post office and the Bay Street Marina. In furtherance of that effort, a work session discussion was held by this town board on June 5th, where this town board did indicate its support for the commencement of the procedural steps necessary to form a park district. On June 10th, by resolution number 819 of 2025, the town board authorized the preparation of a map, plan, and report in furtherance of an East Quogue Park District. On July 22nd, that map, plan, and report was filed in the town clerk's office for public review and inspection. Pursuant to that map, the boundaries of the proposed park district mimic that of the East Quogue School District boundaries. And there's a map of that right here. The maximum amount proposed to be expended for the improvements is $75,000. The expense of the improvements to the park district shall be assessed, levied, and collected on an ad valorem basis pursuant to New York State Town Law. The estimated cost to a typical property in said district, with typical property being defined in New York State Town Law Section 209A as a benefited property within the district having an assessed value that occurs most frequently on the town's latest completed assessment roll, is $22.82. And that's because in this scenario, a typical property has an assessed value of approximately $700,000. The tax rate for the proposed district, that is the cost per thousand, is estimated to be 0.0326. Thus, the cost for a property assessed at $500,000 would be $16.30 per year. If assessed at $750,000, the cost would be $24.45 per year. And if assessed at $1 million, the cost would be $32.60 per year. The purpose of this hearing is to gather public input and comment from the community and within those park district boundaries as it relates to the creation of the district. Does the board have any questions for me at this time?
No? All right. Stay close by, though.
No, I just wanted to, before
Bring
we,
you up again.
you could actually, I want to say thank you, first of all.
Thank you, Kathleen.
I want to say thank you to the community members that brought this forward and that worked on it diligently and made sure everyone in the community was made aware of this to the best of your ability. And to the extent that we didn't, we also did send out a mailer to all the residents in the district. I want to thank the East Quogue School Superintendent for getting back to me and giving me their because we were using the school district boundaries, it was easiest to use their vendor who actually puts out their notices. So I want to thank them for that information. Thank Paul from my office and CRC for getting those notices out. They were out the same day that the public hearing was noticed in the paper, so. just
I
wanted
would
to say
think we've
thank you
had
to
3
everyone.
meetings so far, haven't we?
Yes.
Community meetings?
Yes.
Yeah, and lots of opportunity for input. All right, well, there are some people who'd like to speak today. The first card is from Kathy Zambetti.
Hello, my name is Kathy Zambetti. I'm the current chair of the CAC in East Quogue. I've lived there with my husband, John, for about 10 years, and I wanted to get more involved in the community because this is our home now. And I attended a few of the CAC meetings, and it was always the same topic. What are we going to do to improve downtown? We need volunteers to pull weeds, to plant new bushes. What are we going to do about the trees? And I am happy to say that all of the community groups in East Quogue have come together for this one project. Historical, civic, beautification. We've all rallied together and have had several meetings, and we are all in agreement that this is what's needed. You know, there are many volunteers, but you can't count on volunteers every single day. And it's the same people, quite honestly, that always volunteer. So as head of the CAC, I would hope that this does pass. And it is not any small measure. I understand it's an increased burden to people's tax bill. But I think in the end, it will be worthwhile. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Donna Vallone.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Donna Vallone. I serve on the board of directors for both the beautification, EQ Beautification, and the EQ Civic. And I just want to echo the sentiments put forth by Kathy Zambetti about the need for real, serious, and ongoing maintenance of our Main Street. And I think when we look at places like Hampton Bays, like West Hampton, we are all very pleased with how beautiful the plantings look and how welcoming those town centers are. And I think EQ deserves this for our community. So any other questions for us as a community, I'd be happy to talk about. We've been trying for this for a very long time, and we're really hoping that it can go forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Christine Grant.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christine Grant Connolly. I'm the secretary of the East Quogue Citizens Advisory Committee and an active member of the East Quogue community. Over the past few months, I've had the pleasure of working with the East Quogue Civic Association and Beautification Committee, as well as members of the Chamber of Commerce, the Historical Society, the CAC, and many East Quogue residents who all share the same goal, to better our hamlet. We're so fortunate to have many wonderful parks and public spaces in East Quogue. And while the Parks Department works hard to maintain these spaces, their resources are stretched thin, and small tasks like watering our hanging baskets and welcome signs are often left undone. These may seem like minor details, but they are what makes East Quogue beautiful and inviting. Right now, we can all see the challenges. The trees lining Main Street are dying and the beds are overgrown. The Village Green is in desperate need of some work. Establishing a park district would give us something that we've never had before: dedicated resources to keep East Quogue's public spaces looking their best year-round. As a resident that grieves their tax assessment regularly, I know that even the smallest increase in taxes is a delicate matter. But a park district is necessary and a worthwhile investment. It gives East Quogue the tools and the structure we need to preserve, maintain, and improve the spaces we all rely on for recreation, connection, and community pride. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and Kristen Connolly.
I'm actually going to decline to speak because I think my wife nailed it perfectly. And, she said it much more succinctly than I could. So we thank the board for considering this.
Okay. Well, as you all said, you know, this is really something that the Civic, the CAC, the beautification, the Chamber, everybody seems to have come together and are in agreement that they would like to proceed in this way and that it would be for the benefit of the hamlet. Peter, is there anyone on Zoom who'd like to speak at this first public hearing?
No one has their hand up.
All right. Well, if the board doesn't have any other questions or comments, then I move to close the,
I'd actually like to leave it open until the 26th.
leave it open.
Because we told people that they'd asked, because it's a daytime meeting, that if people were working and they wanted to weigh in, they could come to the, we could
Right,
put the
not just
notice-
written comments, but
Yeah.
leave it open. All right. Okay, so move to continue on with the,
I didn't sign in, but I'd just like to say.
okay, sure. Come on up, Marissa.
I'll be brief.
What's the date, Cindy? The 29th?
The 26th.
I'm Marissa Bridge. I'm the president of the East Quogue Civic and Beautification Committees, and we've had several meetings that you've attended. We have had almost no negative comments. Everyone I've spoken to is so in favor of this. In fact, we have some neighbors today, Janet, Nancy Fire, people that just are here. They're not going to speak, but they're really in support of this. The community really wants it and needs it. So I hope that that it becomes a reality. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to just say really briefly, I think, you know, it's great to see the East Quogue community collaborating with Councilwoman McNamara, Supervisor Moore. You know, community can really be a great partner for government to get things done. And this is another great example of seeing that fostering of collaboration really work out in a very positive way. So I just want to commend the community for being so engaging and collaborative with the board.
Well, that's to you. All right, so then I will move to hold the public hearing open till August 26th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you all for your participation.
No, that's why I just, we can put the resolution adoption on the 26th, because it's the creation of a taxing district.
Understood.
What's happening?
She just, I asked if it was on for today.
What?
The resolution for adoption,
Oh,
but
no.
it's not.
Right. Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the second public hearing?
Public hearing number 2, to consider the use of community housing funds for the acquisition of 3 lots located at 47 Flanders Road, Riverside, for affordable apartment units.
Good afternoon, Madam Supervisor and Town Board members. I am Kara Back. I'm the Director of Housing and Community Services for the town. I would like to introduce you to the application submitted to the Community Housing Advisory Board from Georgica Green Ventures, LLC, known as GGV. The application requests $2.4 million of community housing funds that will be used to acquire a site comprised of 3 lots located at 47, 53, and 57 Flanders Road, Riverside. We have pictures of these lots here. A current appraisal confirms that the market value of the property meets the requested amount. The site has 209 feet of frontage along Flanders Road and comprises an aggregate land area of just under 1 acre. 2 of the lots currently contain vacant commercial buildings, and 1 lot contains a single-family dwelling.
Also vacant?
Also vacant. The buildings will be demolished by the developer upon purchase. The site lies within the Village Business Zoning District and the Hamlet Center of the Riverside Overlay District of the town of Southampton. GGV proposes a mixed-use development of 3,000 square feet of ground floor commercial retail space and up to 40 affordable housing apartment units located above. The unit mix proposed will be 2 studio units, 26 one-bedroom units, and 12 two-bedroom units. Occupant income eligibility will be restricted by the Suffolk County HUD area median income limits, or the AMI, in the 60%, 80%, and 100% AMI categories. 30 units will be available at the 60% AMI. Currently, this is $69,270 annually for a one person, or $98,940 for a family of 4. 4 units will be available at the 80% AMI. 6 units will be available at the 100% AMI. That's currently $115,450 for one person, or $64,900 for a family of 4. The maximum monthly rent amounts will be set pursuant to the rent calculations set by the town board on an annual basis, based upon the AMI limitations of the unit. For reference, based on the current maximum rents, studio units would be between $1,444 a month to $2,309 a month. One-bedroom units would be between $1,650 a month to $2,639 a month. Two-bedroom units would be between $1,856 and $2,969 a month. Most importantly, all of these units will be affordable in perpetuity. The property intends to connect to the proposed Riverside septic treatment plant. In the event that the septic treatment plant does not get developed, the property will be transferred by GGV to the town. So first, the town's land management administrator is here, Janice Shearer, and she would like to share why the property is an important part of the Riverside redevelopment project. Next, Joyce Yancey, the chairwoman of the CHF Advisory Board, will share the recommendations of the advisory board with you.
Right.
And finally, we have a representative from GGV here to answer any questions that the board may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kara.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Supervisor, members of the board. My name is Janice Shearer, Town Planning and Development Administrator for the record. As you know, we've been working very hard to get to the closing on the funding, the grant funding for the Riverside sewage treatment plant. And that is coming up at the end of September. So that is an important milestone for us to then, get to the point where we're constructing the actual sewer infrastructure. And these parcels are very important to the overall plan. They address the road. They will set the scene for, the look and feel. They're across from your new maritime park. And the fact that CHF would be giving the money to buy it, you voting to do that would mean you have more control over that look and feel. And I think that's really important because that will be the beginning of a revitalization that, as you know, is over 10, 20 years in the making now. I mean, this is really going on a long time, and we want to get to the point where we have revitalization, people living there, a vibrant area, and so I just wanted to be here in support of this. As you know, we worked with GGV on Sandy Hollow and Spion Commons to great success, and I look forward to working with them again on this program. So thank you.
Janice, I just want to ask you, so this has been going on for several months now, a lot of conversations about this. One of the key things I think is really important that you kind of already hinted at was that the approach to Riverside Flanders right now has been very balanced. There's a lot of mix of preservation goals that we've been doing, and obviously this really important revitalization effort that's tied to the sewage treatment plant, improving septic infrastructure, which is so critically important for water quality. So could you just speak a little bit about the connection here and the collaboration that's happening? I know CPF has been involved. We've been doing some projects as well in Riverside. We have the Reeves Bay Overlook. We have the Riverside Maritime Park that we work with the Parks Department as well to improve. So can you just explain how that's all sort of coming together? And this is really about helping to enhance the Riverside hamlet.
Absolutely. So Riverside, as you know, is the gateway into Southampton. It's been extremely downtrodden and for lack of a better word, it's impoverished in many ways because it's lacking infrastructure and any investment. So, but it also is environmentally sensitive, as you mentioned. It's right at the Peconic River. It's in the Central Pine Barrens. It's got a lot of environmental features that it finds itself at a crossroads of many different regulatory overlays and things along those lines. So in looking at that, the goal then was to say, how can you revitalize and have preservation at the same time? And I think that collaboration with CPF, with the parks, with like looking at this and saying, let's not overburden a specific area with huge development, but let's like balance it out with the environmental beauty that's inherent to that area. So we've worked really hard with you all to really make that a truism, to say let's look. We, as you know, we hired Historical Concepts to look at how can this be just like any other area in the town, really evocative of what Southampton is all about, which is preservation in many regards. So we're taking that and saying, how can we preserve? And look at if you look at the north side, how much acreage has been preserved there. It's incredible. Iron Point all the way down. I mean, we'll be able to have a maritime trail there. The park, the park too, one of the things that the community said was, we're named Riverside. Where's the river? You wouldn't even know it. And so having that as a starting point, we had health impact surveys done where people said, we want to be able to fish. We want to be able to use the river, kayak, get onto the river. So that's where all the things from the Maritime Park came into play.
Yeah, I want to commend you working with CPF, Jackie, and also Kara on this, really just a collaborative effort. It's great to see the departments really looking at what those needs are and coming through in a comprehensive way like this.
Yeah, and now also the way that we're looking at it is the sewage treatment plant will have so much density, right? Like you could, but how does that get like sort of equitably distributed in a way that everyone gains and wins, instead of just one mega development in one spot and everyone else is still like, what happened? So we're trying to make it equitable, beautiful, really emulate the environmental aspects. I can't thank CPF enough for all of the water quality, support to make this a reality, and you all, of course. So that's, it's your legacy that you're creating this beautiful place, and this is just another piece in that puzzle. So thank you.
How does this fit in with the equitable distribution you just referenced?
It does fit in because each one of the areas that we're talking about, this being, I forget the block number, has a certain amount of flow allocated to it, and that flow would support the amount of units, or you can do less, but it certainly, for appraisal purposes, equals out. The flow being transferred to this block based on, not just because that's what they want to do, but based on the area of the block. It was like sort of, how much area does each block have? How much frontage does each block have? How much development potential is there without overwhelming any one area? And that's how we're looking at it. And in addition, which I think is really innovative, our architect, Paul Knight and Elizabeth Dillon, they're looking at it from like best planning practices. Like, well, how much retail can even this community support? How much, like looking at it from a planning perspective, it's often come at from a different perspective, which is really based upon maybe return on investment or, these pro formas that developers do. But we're coming at it from a different angle, which is the planning aspects. Like, how much can we want to put the roadway network into place, and how much can that support? Like that kind of stuff. So it does equal out as far as that question goes.
Not just because, some people might think, well, this applicant is first, so they're taking more than is allocated, but you're saying
it's based on the block area. Yeah, and that's why we did that, so that we didn't want that to be something that was a concern.
And this is something more so for the representatives from Georgia Green, but the biggest feedback I have gotten is it's not a very big piece of property, so how are you doing retail, 40 apartments, and parking all on that site? So.
Right, and you may recall Paul did some pop-up
and it's not a 5-story building.
No, it's not.
So.
And I'll come back. You'll see on your next agenda, we didn't make the deadline for this agenda, a contract amendment, so that we got a little more work to do as far as the blocks and the sewage outlay and what that looks like popped up as a SketchUp plan.
Janice, will Historical Concepts be involved in that?
Yes, they are.
Okay, great.
Yeah, they still are our architect. They're working this out. But just right now, just so you know, we did look at it and say, oh, that is what it can support. But they've changed the layout, and we want to come back and make sure everyone's happy. It's buildable as far as GGV is concerned, but that everyone understands what it's going to look like and feel like. So they did like some fly-through perspectives and stuff like that. Yeah.
All right, so we'll hear more from the applicant himself.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Janice.
Thank
I
you.
think Kara wanted to bring up Joy, but
I have actually a card for Joy.
I do have one thing that I wanted to just bring up with Kara before we move on. Go ahead, you could
Okay.
go, Joy.
Good afternoon. My name is Joyce Cianci. I'm here today on behalf of the Community Housing Fund Advisory Board. The advisory board considered the application of Georgia Green Ventures in accordance with the guidelines of the CHF project plan. As you are well aware, the plan guides us to provide financial assistance to alleviate the housing cost burden, to provide housing options for seniors, disabled, and employees, to promote creative infill that encourages middle market housing and bike and pedestrian activity, and to plan housing locations near public transportation. As Carrabeck shared, this project will create mixed-use retail and 40 affordable rental housing units in perpetuity. The advisory board found that the proposed project is consistent with the CHF project plan. First, obviously, the development of the 40 affordable rental units in perpetuity will provide that financial assistance to alleviate the housing cost burden in this area. And in addition, the project's proximity of the affordable housing to the commercial uses of the development, like coffee shops or convenience stores or the like, can be beneficial to residents of the units who may be seniors, disabled, and potentially employees of those commercial spaces. And as well, the applicant shared that the project is adjacent to the Flanders Road, Peconic Avenue public bus stop and within a walkable distance to the Riverhead Long Island Railroad train station, also supporting the priorities of the CHF project plan. During our advisory board discussion regarding the application, 2 advisory board members expressed concern about ingress-egress traffic this development might create at the site. And we reached out to Janice Scherer, the town's land management administrator, for further discussion on that point. And she gave us comfort to say that the town has mitigated potential traffic concerns by acquiring a number of surrounding properties to effectively control additional traffic to the area. So following that discussion, the Community Housing Fund Advisory Board voted to unanimously recommend this application to the town board. I appreciate the opportunity to present that recommendation for your consideration.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Scherer, actually, before I go to Director Bach, can I ask you what the traffic mitigation is?
Sure. So when you look at the overall map, we are going to be mapping out the roadway connections ourselves as an official map of the area. So the roadway connections and network will be laid down in advance of any
Cross
building.
access or something
Not
much
just
more?
much more like actual streets.
Okay. So will we have a meeting about that?
Sure, I'm happy to present that to you. We did present that to you in the historic concepts. You might recall they had those block
that's
lengths
right.
were like 900 feet, and then they showed like how the street network could be laid out, and then that's how we ended up with the resulting block letters.
Maybe when you come to us when we're ready to move to our next discussion, that can just be part of the
love
general
to.
discussion
Be
as it
happy to.
pertains to
But
that.
that's not, but nonetheless, this is all going
They
to be
will-
fronting on the main road here.
On the main road
these.
and require some amount of cross access. As you know, we own this. You have a lease with the state troopers. So I don't know if the cross access is something that could be effectuated because of that lease. They would have to like maybe lose some parking and put a fence there, and then that cross access could be created. But that is town property, and you lease it to them. So that's something we can work on. But yes, the cross access is important, and then the roadway network is most important, and that's what we said. We need to lay down that network first and foremost.
Thank you.
Sure.
Kara, I just wanted to briefly just touch upon one little aspect of this that you and Joy touched upon very quickly, but I think it's really important for the public to understand this with respect to it being affordable in perpetuity. In particular, there are people who grow concerned when they hear a developer coming in. They're going to build affordable housing. They think large structures. They think it's going to be a boon for the developer. Affordable in perpetuity are provisions within our law that mandate it essentially to be affordable as long as that property is there, correct? Can you explain a little bit about affordable in perpetuity?
Yeah, so the CHF law requires that if CHF funds are being used in connection with the development, that those CHF funds are being used to maintain affordability. And we're under the feeling that that language means affordable in perpetuity.
Forever.
Forever. So as long as that structure stands, those units will have to be affordable in perpetuity to the residents. So what does that mean? That means that this town board on an annual basis, every year, sets rent limitations for the different area median incomes. So somebody who's in a 60% area median income who's residing in a unit reserved for someone in that 60% area median income will pay the rent that's set by this town board and not more than that.
So it restricts the owner from potentially down the line, 50 years down the line, 60 years down the line, from increasing that price of living.
Yeah, and if the developer at some point in time sells this development,
The covenants require that
the covenant runs with the land, yeah, so that anybody in the future who purchases this property would be subject to those covenants, and they would be subject to those same rent restrictions.
it's a very important aspect to this whole entire thing. So thank you, Kara.
Thank you.
Janice, I have a question. Could you come back? There's a provision in the code that says something to the effect that any new development would have to have 20% affordable. Is that correct? What am I thinking of?
Actually, the Riverside Overlay District requires 50%, but if this is CHF, it's 100%.
Right, but what I'm getting at is if, say it's 50%.
Okay.
Does this count towards the 50% of the total? Or just 50% of this one development?
Isn't that the same?
Well, so what I think what you're asking is if there's another development, can that whole development be market rate because this one is all affordable?
No.
Or can
no.
they all be affordable? I mean, that's
No.
not what we were going for either. We were
No,
going to go
each
for a
development
mix.
comes in on its own and stands on its own, and the way the law reads is 50% of that development has to be affordable, but it doesn't, affordability can go up to 120%. So it doesn't say low median or any of that. I mean, you can choose. So it's 50%, and if you're not comfortable with that, we can look at amending that.
But that's just the minimum. So could it be that because of the tax incentives that every owner of these parcels that want to develop them could be coming in to say, we want all the development to be affordable in perpetuity? And that's not what we were going for here.
If
We were
that's not what you're going for, then that's
balance.
what would not, you don't have to grant it. It doesn't have to
But
be.
we're
approved.
starting out by saying, okay, the very first one, all 40 are affordable.
We're funding it.
Because you're funding it, but that we could start to tabulate and say, okay, here's the total number of units possible. Here's the 50% mark, and when you meet it, that's that. I mean, you could do it that way. We could do that.
I think that's what you were asking.
Yeah,
If it's
that's what I was
50% for the full.
For the whole development potential. You can have a development potential, let's say of 50 units, and no one comes in for 10 years. Just because it's there doesn't mean anyone's going to do it. But they may say, oh, well, I only want to do 30 or something. It comes down to time and money and
Well,
investment.
you could also, to meet that 50% requirement, you could have half of your units be market rate and the other half be a very high AMI affordability rate that's.
I think what's important in the affordable, and we're going to talk about this at an upcoming work session, actually, but setting the ability to sort of understand what kind of mixes you're allowing in these different scenarios, and doing that, not just here, but anywhere. So you're aware of it and you understand, because the idea is a diversity, a nice mix, market rate, affordable, different levels of affordability. So you're capturing everyone.
That's right. You
Right.
just
So
wanna have a
we're very
balance.
mindful of that, and I think the more we can stay mindful, and if we need to amend anything to do that, we're happy to do that.
On that, mostly it's all two-story buildings.
No, there's allowable, you can go higher, mostly the way Paul was working on it was, I told him, like, don't go beyond 3. So and 3 is maybe dormers, or, the code allows up to 5, but we're looking at reformulating everything and keeping it lower profile and.
It's not like on the other side of the river where they're pretty
No.
real high.
Well, that was sort of what the idea was a long time ago, but as we've developed this now, it's not that anymore.
And there will,
What code allows for up to 5 stories?
The Riverside Overlay District.
Oh.
and there will be a pattern book
Yes,
to
and that's
guide
what,
architectural
that's what
design.
we're heading toward, right? So right now, the next move with historical concepts is to lay out what the flow allocations will get you.
Right.
And then it's an iterative process. Then you're gonna look at that, and then you're gonna say, so it's not 3-story isn't inherently bad, but we're talking about like a nice like rhythm, not like in your face 3-story.
Yeah, I mean, there's 4-story buildings on Main Street in Southampton that nobody even realizes are 4 stories from the.
So that was always the point, was to make it like feel like a mix and feel natural, not feel like, oh my God, I've just entered into this area that doesn't feel like, we know it.
And also, our numbers are down from the original.
We've halved it.
Yeah, and so that itself lends to, if you're developing these properties, you're not putting a 5-story because you just don't have the numbers to fill that space.
Exactly. And, there's other requirements. Like there's other requirements in here that will also further restrict it. Like you have to be able to park it. You have to be able to, pay into a fund related to these other improvement, fair share mitigation. So there's other things that come into play that will work that number to be more
realistic.
Realistic. That's a good word. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, are the parking limitations in consideration for this project? I mean, have they
Yes.
found a way to accommodate?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's later, I guess. We'll
Yes,
hear
but-
from the applicant.
But the design will require that if you're building units, you have to be able to park there, as a resident. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Burdette Thomas.
Wait,
What?
I think we're going to bring Dave Gallo up.
Oh, you're going to come up next. Okay, sure. Well, you've got the answers.
Answers
so
to all
that
the
makes
questions
sense.
we're asking everybody else. So.
Thank you, Supervisor and Town Board, for giving us an opportunity to present our project this afternoon. Thank you, Karen.
Your name.
Oh, yeah, it's been a while. Sorry. David Gallo, President of Georgia Green Ventures, 49 Herb Hill Road, Glen Cove, New York. Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you, Town Board members, for hearing our application today. Thank you to Kara, and thank you to Janice, and thank you to the CHF Board for your trust and reviewing and approving our application. So just a little bit about GGV. I feel like the last time I was here, I was standing doing the lottery for Spionk and Sandy Hollow, so it's been a few years, but really very happy with the success of those two buildings. But we've been very busy. At Georgica, we've probably built since that time over 1,500 apartments of workforce housing and affordable housing throughout New York State. This is our business. This is what we do. We're not building retail. We're not building office. Literally, what we're proposing is all we do, and we do it up and down Long Island. We're finishing 50 apartments right now in the town of Brookhaven. A portion of those units go to domestic violence survivors, veterans, individuals with intellectual disabilities, as well as workforce housing. And we've leased the space to a very exciting coffee shop to help bring East Patchogue and downtown Main Street just a little bit further east for the town of Brookhaven. In addition to that, we are recently closed on 96 units in the town of Islip, where the town of Islip had selected Georgia Green Ventures on a parking lot next to their train station, where we'll be building this mixed-use, mixed-income development there. And then we are also in the midst of construction of 282 units in Coney Island, our third building, our first being for veterans, second for domestic violence survivors, and this being solely for seniors on fixed incomes. Heard a little bit about the questions, earlier. We're going to work with planning, and we're going to work with the community to get to a project that everybody's happy with. The proposed project started at 48 units, and now I think we're somewhere around 40, given the density limitations of the sewage. But it doesn't have to be that. So we're here today to let all of you know that we will do what we've always done, which is to work with the town board and work with planning to find a project that is successful. I want to be in Riverside because I want to be the catalyst that gets it done. The 3 sites are blighted, and they're dangerous, and they need to be taken down. And quite frankly, I want to be the first to get the foot in the door and set the tone for the future development. I hope that we have an opportunity to do that, and we would welcome the chance to receive this funding and to help us continue to move forward on the project. And as the town moves forward with the sewage treatment plant, we will continue to work in tandem with them.
Mr. Gallo, thank you for being here. Can you just talk a little bit about some of your partnerships with our housing department as well as our housing authority?
Yeah, so it began many years ago with the town of Southampton Housing Authority and with the planning department, first on Sandy Hollow Cove. That particular project now exists 28 apartments and 3 separate buildings.
North Sea.
Yes, and fully occupied. I visit the site, if not weekly, every other week. I'm very proud of the residents and what we've delivered and built there. Shortly after Sandy Hollow, we started working on a project called Spion Commons, and that particular site, while it was different, also had some blighted and some abandoned buildings there. And many of them were so hard to see from the street, but if you went and you walked on that site, you would see that there was literally cottages there left from the MTA. And there are some similarities here. When I drive by this site, they need to come down. They need to be safe. There are definitely environmental hazards as it relates to these particular, in fact, the projects, need the work with the community to see them cleaned up. But collaborated with Spion Commons with the Housing Authority as well, and we're working with the Housing Authority on other projects too, in Watermill and some of the other things that the town has initiated.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you because it was my main concern was I know that the development hinges on the sewage treatment, and it was big for me and I think for the community to know that, as soon as this is done, those buildings are going to be gone, the site's going to be cleaned up. So even though nothing is going to get built, tomorrow or even in the very near future, the site's going to be clean and it's going to be safe, and that was a big plus for the community. So I want to thank you for agreeing to do that.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Any questions?
Well, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I would like to know about the size of the units because it just seems so much, 40 units on 1 acre, and when the first floor is all commercial.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of size are we talking about?
Mm-hmm. So a 1-bedroom typically would be similar to Sandy Hollow and Spion Commons. When we work on projects, there's design guidelines from the state that allow minimum and maximum square footages. So a 1-bedroom can range anywhere from 600 to 725 square feet. We, as a company, typically will design towards the larger, so somewhere in the 700 range, if not at the maximum of 725. For a 2-bedroom, 725 to 850, I believe, is the range. And again, when we do that, we work towards the upper end of all of the requirements. So what is at Sandy and Spion would be very similar. With respect to the design, we're not making an application for site plan or a building permit. There is a lot more work to do here, and I couldn't tell you that the 40 units is where we land. This actually will help us, this funding, create an opportunity to have less density, if that is so what the board chooses. But I don't want to own a building or manage a building that, 1, can't be rented, and 2, which is going to have too many units on a site. Project feasibility is very important. This particular funding helps the catalyst to make the funding easier because we're having the affordable units. The other thing is the units are at 60, 80, and 100% AMI. This is not a deeply affordable project. When you look at the area median income of $164,000 for a family of 4, these rent tiers are very, very much a moderate income. And this project should be the catalyst, as Georgia has been in many areas. When we deliver this and the building is fully rented, then a lender and an investor could look at the adjacent site and say, those rents can be achieved because that building has it. You can't start with one without the other, but these 3 rent tiers, very specifically chosen by us, right, will allow for, 1, diversity of rent, diversity of income, allow for a wide population of people, wide population of employment opportunities for people in the building, but then also provide the basis for the future building. The neighbor next door or down the block says, wow, they can rent at 100% AMI. All of this needs to have funding with a lender, period, full stop. Because without a lender, we can't build these without them. So, but I'm very happy with the tiers we've chosen.
What were the studios, about 3-something, you didn't say?
For the square footage?
Yeah.
Studios are typically in the fives, about 550 square feet. All of the buildings have and will have amenity space, whether it's a gym, whether it's a community room, a library, and ensuring that the residents there will have a place to leave their units, but also go, just like in Sandy and Spionk or any of our other developments. And while Sandy and Spionk are directly here, I would encourage, while we've just completed the project in Brookhaven, to come to visit it, to see the community room, to see the gym, to see the coffee shop that's currently being built. And we've hit very similar AMIs that we have here, because that is part of Georgica's approach, where we want to hit multiple AMIs, have multiple income levels, serving as many people as possible.
And I would also encourage the locals to take a look at the North Sea project, Sandy Hollow, and you worked very closely with the community there, and they were very supportive of the work and just how much you really took care of the character of the community and in that development. I think that's a really important feature in some of the work that you do. And so I think if folks are curious about who you are, that's also another good one to take a look at.
Thank you.
It is very beautiful and fits in with the character of the community.
Thank you.
Seamlessly.
And this will too. If we get there, this will fit in too. I don't know why I'm going to keep going, but the hope is that the building always looks like it's been there. That has always been our motto. Like, we're not flashy developers. I'm not like looking for something to stick out. I want someone to drive by many times and be like, oh, when did that get here? That is who we are. That's the approach that we take. We don't want to have something that doesn't fit into the context of the community.
And it looks good for the neighborhood. It's kept clean and the people are very happy there.
Yep.
Do you have anything on the other side of the river by any chance?
I do. So Georgica owns 116 units called Riverview Lofts, which is on the other side of the river. We probably finished that 5 years ago. It has a brewery. It has a Pilates studio on the ground floor. It's got an ice cream shop. And
so the people can use that as an example.
Sure, absolutely. So, all right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right, now Fredette Thomas. Would you still like to come up and?
Thank you, board. Nice to have you here. Tom Fredette. I'm one of the landowners in the area. That was said.
No, it looked like it was your first name was
Tom Fredette. Yeah.
Tom.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, good to be here. Tough to follow David Gallo. Oof.
Yeah.
Very nice. I've seen his work. It's beautiful. I feel like that presentation should have been 10 years ago when it was 2,200 units. And now that it's been scaled back, it's just a little concerning because I am a landowner. I own 3/4 of an acre right there and another acre where the Peconic Paddler is. And in the beginning, 2,200 to me was like, wow, this is unbelievable. Streets can be paved with gold for a developer. That was 10 years ago I bought. And then it's been a roller coaster ride up and down. And where are we now? And seeing the latest plan from Paul Knight and what Janice put together, I was so happy it was scaled back because it makes more sense for it to be more of a community and, doing it by block, a lot of sense. And now it doesn't feel like it's going to be an overwhelming site like Riverhead is, the other side of the river, which is high density, very high density. And I am 100% for the affordable housing piece. I don't think any one demographic should be put together on 1 acre, though. That's my only concern. I believe with the affordable housing being sprinkled out throughout the whole development, it's, what is it, Janice, 30 acres altogether? That whole 25, 30 acres. It would make more sense to do the affordable housing, in my mind, throughout. So I have 3/4 of an acre. I'd be willing to go, hey, 10 units there and half of it being affordable. It makes sense. It's 3/4 of an acre. Maybe David will do the same thing over there. It just seems to make sense that you would kind of spread it out rather than just go in high density in one location. It's my only concern. I have complete faith in Janice, though, everything she showed me. So if she's for it, I would be for it as well. I just saying that if she thinks it fits into the scope of the plan and the way things are going, it's just, at first, we were all like, wow, we have an acre, we could build 40, 50, 60, 70 units. And there are people that own 10, 15 acres. What are you going to tell them? Like, no, you can only do 5 here or 10 there. It becomes this tug of war. So it's a little bit of a scary thought, what could actually come out of this, granting this concept. Again, I'm not opposed, and I certainly, if Kara Beck would like to spread the money around the community, my hand is up, no problem. Maybe we can work together in that direction. That's my only concern, but just wanted to say my piece.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Chris Sheldon. Or Sheldon Chris.
Sandy, I have copies for the board. Do I give them to you?
Yes, please. Thank you, Chris.
Supervisor and members of the Town Board of Southampton. I don't know if you want to read along with me. Thank you. Hey. You're gonna get a copy too. Supervisor and members of the Town Board of Southampton. Good afternoon. My name is Chris Sheldon. I live in Northampton. Riverside, far away from Town Hall. Nearly 40 miles round trip to attend today's public hearing. And at a time of day when our working class citizens just cannot attend. Today's hearing seriously threatens decades of struggle and patience to restore a forgotten hamlet. Many ask why more affordable housing in this location, in the heart of the planned Riverside revitalization. 100% affordable apartments in one building just ain't good planning. Some call it the continuing of the murder of a dream. If Riverside is important to Town Hall, prove it. Conduct an evening hearing at the county center in Riverside so all can attend. If ever there was a potential national story scandal, this is it. Headlines: neglected corner of the Hamptons. The most affordable housing on Long Island is already in Riverside. Politics trumps planning. Election year suicide for deaf town board. So why are we here? We all know affordable housing is needed east of the canal to lessen the load of mindless trade parade traffic. Albert Einstein summered on the North Fork, not far from Riverside. Einstein, genius, observed and is quoted, "The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. This insanity to solve regional issues without decent discussions will lead to lost opportunity forever, the murder of a dream. Now is not the time or place for the town of Southampton to throw a monkey wrench into the decades of struggle to collectively help raise Riverside. Placing the wrong fix in the wrong location is wrong for Riverside. You know this. The world knows this. Embrace the future. Embrace your purpose. The world is watching. Make us proud of you. Give us pride of place."
Thank you, Chris.
I just want to point out, when we talk about affordability for these units, we're talking about, for a single person, the affordable rates of salaries is either $69,000, $92,000, or $115,000. That's teachers, that's doctors, that's nurses, that's librarians, that's 75% of our town workforce. I think when people say affordability and you think, oh my gosh, it's going to be, there's a stigma attached to Section 8 housing and it's going to be all, this low income. This is not low income housing. This is affordable housing for working class people, for people that we employ in our town, for people that see you when you walk in the hospital, for the teachers that educate our children. This is not affordable housing that's going to be, paid for by the government. This is working class people that want to come into Riverside and use shops and have some income with which to, revitalize Riverside. This is not, bringing the area down. This is building the area up. And if we can get workforce people in Riverside that, that are our professional laborers, that, are part of our community, we build that whole area up. We're not bringing it down. So the headlines that they're, yes, salacious headlines and, do I want to be associated with any of those headlines? No, but I don't think any of those headlines apply here. So that's all I wanted to say.
Councilwoman, thank you on that. I mean, I wanted to make the point, I was going to ask Kara to come up to address that exact issue on what these people would actually be paying by what their incomes are real. And on that comment, most of the kids I know who are making in the $60,000 range are living in basements or in one room or deplorable conditions. Like, this is quite an uptick from what the reality is right now in Southampton town. And the fact that we have 265 units on the drawing board across Southampton town, both sides of the canal. CDLI's report said there is as many in Watermill as there is in Hampton Bays. This is a real issue that we're tackling. So to say that we're dumping it anywhere or we're concentrating on one area is just baloney.
So what I would like to just point out, CHF has accumulated about $30 million since its inception, our town. So we have about $24 million committed to development of housing. We have about 41 single-family homes. 38 of those homes are located east of the canal. We have about 168 apartments, the majority of those units located east of the canal. So to say that we're concentrating, affordable housing in one area, we're not. We are really concentrating more towards the eastern end to help alleviate with the traffic conditions.
Are those, of those 148, how many, that includes the 79 in Quiog though, doesn't it?
So of all of those, yes, 79 in Quiog, we have 20 units in Watermill that we're considering, we have 10 units in Shinnecock Hills that we're considering, North Sea we have some, so all of those units we have.
Watermill.
Yeah.
But it's very delicately placed on the east side, I will say, and that's not it seems to be happening on the west side of town.
But I want to highlight, I do want to highlight,
Just don't think so.
but I want to echo what Tom, the gentleman who spoke earlier, said. Over the past 10 years, he's seen a shift in the approach. And I think there has been a shift in the approach by this town board in more delicately approaching housing generally. And, looking at how we should be more focused on the east side of the canal. I think, me and Rick as liaisons to, CHF, we are on the phone with CDLI every month, looking at where these units are going and where people are applying for affordable housing. And there is an equitable distribution. It is safe to say that based on the data.
Yeah.
But I would also say in terms of this, there is that shift where we need to be able to find ways to lift up communities. And I would echo Councilwoman McNamara's point that this effort here is a way to lift up a community that has been disadvantaged and has been forgotten for a very long time. And I'd credit Councilman Tommy John Scavone and Rick, who have previously worked with the Franca community. Cindy's doing work with the CAC, and I encourage members of the community, the CAC Franca, to have meetings if they want to have a meeting. And I'm sure Janice would and Mr. Gallo would be happy to attend to make sure there's community back and forth. But I think it's important to say that there has been a shift in the approach to housing with this board, and I think it's important that we're focused on opportunity. And this project is, in essence, opportunity.
Yeah, and just to kind of echo what Mr. Gallo was saying, is that he's willing to work with the community to give the community what they need, right? So when we were working with GGV on Sandy Hollow and on Spion Commons, they worked very closely, with the housing department and with the planning department and with the community. I mean, I recall attending a community meeting at the Remsenburg Elementary School, and the room was packed. I mean, it was a gymnasium. It was packed with people. He really listened, and he really heard what those people were saying, and he was open to working with them to bring to them the community. He also designed something that was kind of reminiscent of what was there at the site, which was a Victorian home that was dilapidated and demolished, and to bring that back, architecturally into the community.
Well, that speaks to, look at the diligence that we are effectuating with respect to a pattern book, right? I mean, many municipalities don't have pattern books, but we're doing that to guide the architectural design. So it isn't like we're just dumping a bunch of stuff in one place and it's a massive.
Right. Now, just to address what Councilman Martell said, when somebody is paying more than 30% of their income on housing, they're considered house burdened, right? And so many of our community now, the rents just, locally are so high that, they're paying way more than 30% of their income on housing, more than 50% a lot of times of their income on housing. And when you're doing that, you can never start saving for a down payment on a house, right? And so it becomes cyclical, right? So they never move beyond that apartment into, buying their own house. And so by having, rents that are affordable for teachers, as Councilwoman McNamara said, for our nurses, for, people in the community, they can start to save for a down payment on their own home. And when they use that in conjunction with our CHF down payment assistance, which provides up to 3% now of the cost of the home towards their down payment, it's very possible that they can actually buy a home here in the town.
Just 2 quick points, and one of those is, people see what we have public hearings on and what gets to this point. What people don't see, because these are land acquisitions and they're not done in the public eye as they can't be, people don't see that there are things that we turn down and we pass on and we say, not in this area, or, not now. And then the other point I just wanted to make is I did see when you sent us the rates, and on a 2-bedroom, the high-end rates on one of these 2-bedroom apartments is over $2,900 a month. And that's affordable. That's more than my mortgage. So we're not talking about low rents, low incomes. We're talking about potentially affordable for some people.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I gave you those numbers. I know it's a lot at a public hearing to have a lot of numbers thrown at you, but I wanted you to see that the rents are not what we're saying are.
To me, $2,900 is market rate. That's
and the income limit. So as I mentioned, 60% of the area median income for one person is still $69,000, which is still a lot more than some of the town workers make. For 80%, $92,350 for one person, and for 100% of the area median income, it's $115,000 for one person, and that would be the maximum income. So these units will be available for those people.
And those are, I think, the people that get forgotten in the affordable housing scheme, the whole scheme of it, because, we do try to make things affordable for the lower end, for people that truly are, like, they just don't have any access to housing because they can't afford it. But I think this is that, like Janice was saying, that middle, the missing middle of those people that really don't qualify for the government subsidized low-income housing, right? They make too much, but they can't afford, to either buy a home, and they can't afford the rents for market rate stuff. So I think this is truly the missing middle on things.
No one's saying that there's not a need, and no one's questioning, Mr. Gallo's skill and experience. Absolutely, if he's the right person for the project. But I'm just questioning, I just want to make sure we have all the facts before we proceed, because as Tom mentioned, how many developable acres are there, and what's the allocation of the flow? So here's 1 acre that gets 40 units. Does someone else have 10 acres so they get 400 units, and how does that work? So I just think we should have a work session or something where the board is more fully
You're thinking of a
informed.
long-term vision.
Long-term vision.
Yeah, for Riverside, if we're saying we're going to put in this many units, 1,500
I mean-
or wherever it is that the septic.
It all depends, like, one piece of property, like where he is, might fit 35, 40 units. Then the property around the corner is not a good spot. That might be 2 acres. That might not, just how it sits, the location. But I would like to have Mr. Gallo come back up. I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. I've been coming to Flanders since Riverside's. I used to get sneakers at Sneaker Circus when I was a kid. And for many years, ideas came in there and people just put them down. And Riverside and Flanders never grew. One of the reasons I asked if you did another building on the other side of the river, I knew that before I asked you. I wanted the people to realize what you can do for Riverside. How are you going to lift it up by doing that building? I never heard anything bad about that building. What you were?
Thank you.
My kids go to the brewery there.
Good. Me too.
I don't. I should, but I never had time. But just explain.
Yeah.
The building, what you want to build there with the stores and the apartments up above, whatever, if it's 35, 40 units, whatever it comes to be. How do you expect that to lift that neighborhood?
Well, first getting rid of the blightedness that exists there and demolishing those existing buildings. And then often we do become the catalyst, right? Because everyone then has to follow us. So if we design something that is, beautiful and meets this future pattern book, right? People are going to have to follow in our footsteps, but we also look to have high quality, right? So all of our buildings, if you look at Sandy, you look at Spion, super high quality, and we want to be the first to demonstrate that that quality belongs there and that everyone else is going to have to meet at least that standard. With respect to the building, ground floor activation is important. Having the right retail is important. We waited a long time for that brewery. We had a lot of options for that backspace, but we truly wanted to have an activation of that waterfront. And here, we'll meet with the community. I don't know what the right activation space is for that spot. And we have to be looking at that whole corridor, to your point, and see how the whole area is going to be planned. But we're going to want to activate and have something exciting and have something on that ground floor. And the units above it, like what was said, this is truly for the workforce. These AMIs are not, the lower tier AMIs. They're right down the middle. They serve a big population of people. And those units above it will be built with the same high quality that we built Sandy and Spionk with, but stainless steel appliances, right? Having all of those kitchens and those bathrooms having high quality tile and having units that people can be proud of and also afford to live there. And in Riverhead, we were that first building. And now Heatherwood is following with the second building, market rate, right next door.
Good. And I'm just glad that you're not putting a fast food convenience
Yeah,
store.
no.
I think that's more trouble than Riverside, Flanders does not need another fast food convenience store.
No.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No.
Well, in fact,
Yes.
in a lot of ways, Bill's right. In many ways, it's a food desert. Where access to healthy foods is actually an important need, I think, in Riverside, Flanders area. And I know Cornell Cooperative has been working with some of the local businesses to try to make sure that there's access to some of the local groceries. But I think just for your awareness and moving forward, that's actually a really good point to Mr. Councilman Pell's.
We've waited a long time for the right retail, like a really long time, right? And we don't always hit it, perfectly, but we'd rather be patient, find the right retail that we think will make sense within the community, and then help serve the community, like a
I mean,
brewery.
if you had, like around the corner, if you had a larger piece of property, you would want to put a small supermarket there. Trader Joe's, Lido's, or something.
I would love to extend this property further, but we want to start with this and get it right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I don't have any more cards for this public hearing. Peter, is there anyone on Zoom who'd like to be heard?
No one has their hand up, so.
Well, if we're going to have more discussion about the number of units, or we need to hold the public hearing open,
This is just
or
for
we
the.
can just,
I'd like to close it, just so that, because that way we could get the ball rolling on the additional next steps, because the funding is conditioned on that. So, I'd like. Sorry,
I was just gonna
Counselor.
say, if you wanna ask what the next steps are. just-
What are the next steps, I mean,
Yeah.
what are the next steps with that? Carol, both of you want to talk about it?
I can't speak to the next steps for CHF, but I assume, the point is that CHF is going to provide him the ability to close on the property and have site control. And so I think you would want to do that as soon as possible.
Especially if funding.
When it comes to the density allocations, we can still work, he can own the property and we can still work that out. The property can accommodate 40 units, and that's really it meets the appraised price. If you wanted it to be, let's say, I'm just picking in 30 units or something.
So
matter,
approving the
as far as-
CHF funds today doesn't hold that number. So we could potentially modify that number.
The value is there. The value is there.
Right. No, I understand. But what I'm asking is that we could modify the number of those units if
Yes.
we allocate the funding.
Correct.
To that
And I
point,
think,
does this project come to the town board or the planning board? There's no change of zone here, right?
no.
So
there's
we
no
just go to
changes
the
on it.
planning board.
Go to the planning board, but no one can be doing anything until the sewage treat. So this can all get worked out and approved,
property
but
can
they
get
can't
cleaned up and-
actually do anything until the sewage is,
So it actually
there.
that would allow for the planning board to initiate secra.
yes. Yep. So we can look at all of that. So I think, personally, I think the sooner the better, because
Oh, getting those buildings down.
I
is
mean,
the- yeah.
it's pretty bad.
It's blight,
It's a lot of blight. The roof is caving in. They're unsafe buildings, and to have him have site control, be able to demolish it, prep it, and then we can all work out whatever it is that you want to see there. And we do have those allocations from all the work we've been doing with historical concepts
Yes, and I just want to thank Joy
across
for,
the board, everywhere, so that it's not unfair, that it's very equitably fair.
Thank you, Director. I want to thank Joy as well for being here and issuing the CHF advisory opinion. I think that's really important for us. And you all look at all of these things from a non-biased, very down the line view. So I appreciate all your work. I'd like to make a motion to
Joy.
close.
Second.
may I say all in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, all right, well, thanks everyone for coming. Thank you for your presentation.
I'll submit a resolution for the next town board meeting.
Okay.
You don't have an authorizing resolution before you tonight. Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the third public hearing?
Public hearing number 3, to consider the acquisition of a historic preservation and conservation easement on property located at 149 South Country Road in the hamlet of Remsenburg, Spionk, and amend the Community Preservation Project Plan and the CPF Management and Stewardship Plan to include said property.
This one is that we're just opening and closing because there was an issue with the notice of the public
Want me to
hearing,
give a
right?
brief description?
I don't
I
think we
think
need
we'll
to.
just wait.
Sure, that's fine.
It's on page 55, the renotice, and
What
then we'll
should-
take
should
it up
we-
next
should
time.
we- Should we withdraw?
No.
You just open and close and it goes away.
Move to close the public hearing?
Second.
All in, Rick,
You have to
wait
check, you
just
have
a
to
minute.
check for comment before we do that? Because you're opening it, you have to check.
Oh, that's right. I don't have any cards, but I didn't ask if anybody was on Zoom. Peter, is anyone on Zoom for the third public hearing?
No one has their hand up.
Okay, Thank you, Rick. Move to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the fourth public hearing?
Public hearing number 4 to consider historic landmark designation of the site recognized as the Methodist Point Historical Site located at 1040 Flanders Road, Flanders.
Somebody here to talk about? Town historian?
Okay.
I'm not sure where. Kelly?
Oh,
It's all on you, Julie.
I thought she was going to introduce it.
well, we can start with
Do
you.
you, yeah, you wanna
Righty
start?
then.
Go ahead.
Good
Like
afternoon.
what you have to say.
Good afternoon, Town Board. Cindy Schermeyer, Julie Green, Town Historian. For the record, I'm just going to give a little overview of what we are potentially landmarking in the Methodist Point Historic Site at 1040 Flanders Road. It's on a 4.5 acre parcel of land along Reeves Bay. It's pictured here. The structures that we would like to put on the site are the main farmhouse, 1800, circa 1800 barn, and a small little water pumping windmill. The Landmarks and Historic District Board has recommended landmark designation for the structures.
Julie, can I stop you for 1 second? You said water pumping windmill. It's like what, like a one blade? It's not like a windmill.
So it's converted, so it had been a water pumping windmill. It is now just a small barn that was converted to steam pump, steam engine, so it is no longer propelled by the wind.
Okay, thank you.
I think the engine's still there.
Yes, everything's still intact inside. So the three contributing structures that are identified are, as I mentioned, the farmhouse, the converted water pumping windmill barn, and the circa 1800 barn. These are all identified as historic resources in the town's duck farming, maritime, and recreational history in the town. And all of these structures are visible from Flanders Road, and they add to the history and the evolution of the property. I also want to thank the Flanders Historical Society, Janice Youngs, Gary Cobb, and Sally Spanberg for all their work in the past to bring recognition to these historic structures that are in the hamlet of Flanders. So the property is located on Otterhole Neck, which is the colonial name in the hamlet of Flanders. It was first settled by Josiah Goodale, who was the neighbor to the east in 1760. Best known as the Methodist Point, the property's name actually dates back to Captain Charles Smith, a coastal trader and his family who settled in Flanders from Machias, Maine in the late 1790s. The reason for this is that Captain Smith and his wife Dorcas Smith were instrumental in the early establishment of a Methodist society on the eastern end of Long Island, specifically in the formation of the Methodist Church in Sag Harbor, New York, in 1809. Before Methodist churches were built on Long Island, members held services in their homes, stops for circuit riders who would preach along the way, and it's supposed that the Smith House that originally stood on this property served the Methodists on the western part of the town. I should also note that Charles Smith and Ellis Squires families were related by marriages. The Ellis Squires house in Hampton Bays is another landmark designated by the town. Charles Smith was a coastal trader and operated out of Reeves Bay as a part of the town's maritime economy of shipping produce and cordwood. The captain died in 1835. His wife followed shortly thereafter in 1857. She passed away. I'd like to read just a quick auction advertisement that was in the Sag Harbor Corrector for the property. And it says that very pleasant and romantically situated homestead, the late resident of Captain Charles Smith, deceased, at Flanders in the town of Southampton, consisting of about 25 acres of land, on which is a comfortable dwelling house, barn, and orchard, and a never-failing spring near the door. The place is particularly valuable for the privileges that surround it, such as fishing, eeling, etc., and being nearly surrounded by water, and as you can see, it's a nice point. Charles and Dorcas Smith are buried in the Flanders Cemetery along with some of their other family members.
In 1858, the 25-acre farm was sold to John L. Griffin for $675. In 1884, John's son Samuel Griffin established on the site the first duck farm in Flanders. And after a few years, taking advantage of the influx of summer visitors due to the arrival of the Long Island Railroad, Samuel built a large farmhouse to accommodate summer boarders throughout the early 20th century. As well as continue to duck farm use the farm as a property as a duck farm. Excuse me. The duck farm passed down to Samuel's daughter Blanche and her husband Thomas Irving Havens in the early 20th century and was operated as the Griffin and Havens Duck Farm. This farm became so successful that another farm opened on the western part of Otter Hole Neck. Can't see it here, but that is the home of the big duck that was Carl Neighbor's Duck Farm, and that's one of our most iconic landmarks in Flanders, on Long Island, I would say. However, with the decline of the duck industry due to many factors, and Haven's death in 1966, duck farming ceased on the point. His widow Blanche Havens died in 1975, and the property, after nearly 120 years, passed out of the Griffin family. With the potential landmarking of the three structures, the 1890 main farmhouse, which is part of the early duck farm history, as well as recreation and tourism as a boarding house, the circa 1890 converted water pumping windmill, and the circa 1800s barn, which is the last remaining vestige of the Smiths' ownership. The community preservation plans to restore the property to its rightful place in Flanders and to honor Southampton's diverse history.
And Julie, there was a work session on this, right?
Right.
We had.
So Kelly's not available.
She's not, but if you don't have any questions.
Thank you, Julie.
There's a resolution of adoption later in
Oh,
the packet, so you can close the hearing.
Yes, Assistant Town Attorney Sean Cambridge. I'm in communication with Assistant Town Attorney Kelly Doyle. She did say there was a full work session on this. The board supported, and she would take any questions at the Town Attorney's office.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a card on this. Angela, you know.
Good afternoon, guys.
Hi, Angela.
Hi, Supervisor and members of the board. Yes,
State your name for the record.
Yes, Angela Unwald.
Okay.
President of FRANCA, Flanders Riverside Northampton Community Association. But also I have a personal feeling towards this too, but I will talk right now as for the community. Please, go ahead. Please, yes, say yes to this. I know when Tommy John Scavone was our councilman, he came to us and talked about the two pieces of property, and we were all excited. So yes, please let this go forward as landmark. For 20 seconds, if I could be me.
Yeah.
Angela Unalt, homeowner in Flanders. One of the things that Tommy John and myself spoke a lot about in length is I am a big Little House on the Prairie fan, and I love going to Old Bethpage Village. And he said that there was a possibility we could look into it, but down the road, maybe it would bring in some money for the town, but maybe making a small village that kind of like Old Bethpage, but a smaller scale. And so me, Little House on the Prairie person, I'm excited for this to see what the future holds for us. And it's like a walk from where I live.
Yeah, you never know what the future holds,
Yes,
right?
exactly. So thank you, guys.
Thank you for
Thank you.
supporting the project.
Thanks for coming up.
Peter, is there anyone on Zoom?
No one.
All right, well, if the board doesn't have any other questions, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks again for the report, Julie and Angela. All right. Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the 5th public hearing?
Public hearing number 5, to consider enactment of Chapter 260, planting of shrubs and trees along property lines, regulation of encroachment.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Moore and members of the town board. Assistant Town Attorney Sean Cambridge once again. So this is, we've had a couple different drafts of this, and I think the board may have a few more drafts to come. It's, the supervisor can definitely speak to that, but I think today's purpose is to engage the public and kind of get a group brainstorming session. There have been some issues pointed out with the draft that's on the floor, and some ideas floated. So we're here today to engage folks in the legislative process, hear their comments, and maybe go back to the drawing board a little bit.
Sean, if I may, before I just want to say that this has gone through a couple of iterations, as you kind of alluded to. We took out the provision of the 5-foot buffer rule, which was a big concern from the public. So there has been concerted engagement with listening to some of the public and trying to figure out how to best approach this legislation. Would you agree?
I'd say that's definitely correct. We've reached out to some of our partners at Association of Towns, and we're provided with some resources. And
We looked at the Southampton Village Code, has a
That's
code on
correct as
point
well.
here.
There's a hedge code in Southampton Village. I have a few copies. The supervisor and I spoke about that briefly this morning. And that might be a more feasible direction for something like this.
Something like you said, a non-naturally occurring hedgerow that we could define.
Right.
and
The main
could treat
feedback
similarly.
I think the board's received and I've received collectively, the issue seems to be hedgerows, not other types of trees, not other vegetation. It's planted, kind of artificially arranged hedgerows seem to be the issue here. So we could certainly take another stab at this and take some of the feedback we've received along the way and draft something that the board as a whole will be happy with.
Yeah, it was never meant to say that we had to get consent from the neighbors and record it. That was only a suggestion if it was to protect the person doing the planting. But, after getting some feedback, and then there was also the issue about the town exempting itself, which I didn't particularly care for, but you were saying that it's possible that it's required or there's some language that would have to go in there to qualify that.
Right, so I think part of that conversation is about, in order to sue the town, you first need to file a notice of claim and point out a defect that it already exists. So we're trying to preserve our standards from town law, New York State town law. And in drafting, some of these things don't always come across the way that legislators have intended them to. So again, this is a process to engage the public, to get feedback. This is only on for a public hearing today. I think a work session moving forward would probably be appropriate.
Yeah. And just to keep it simple, I mean, the whole purpose in responding to some members of the community was to say that the person doing the planting, if you should know that it's going to encumber your neighbor's property, then you should be responsible for trimming it back. That was really what was motivating the whole thing. But how we get there, I know we've had a lot of fits and starts on this one, but every time we put a proposal forward, we get input and it's taken to heart and changes occur. So it might be best if we just, if people have come today, of course, you can speak and then we'll, take it back and have another work session and work it out, try to work it out now this last time and put it forward again for one more public hearing.
Because I had someone point out to me, like, they planted trees several years ago, and they planted like 5-6 feet from the boundary line, because they knew the trees were going to grow. They grew more, and 10 years went by, and the roots went over the boundary lines, and the neighbor cut the roots, dug a hole on them, and the trees
Kill the
died.
trees, yeah.
Kill the trees. Is that the right thing to do, or not the right thing to do? Because that neighbor could do the same thing back to the other people's trees.
Well, so
You can't, we don't want to be petty about stuff, but if we're going to do something, we have all these other things come up.
Right, so we don't know if that's the right thing to do or not. That's why, frankly, so many lawyers exist, right? So lots of work for lots of lawyers. So, we can't give a judgment call to members of the public. The board's here to do the best it can to legislate equally, fairly, and to find solutions for the public.
I just want to say thank you, Sean, for your attention to this issue. I know this has been a challenge for us to maneuver through and try to find a way to help the individuals that feel like they may be either financially burdened or they themselves maybe have mobility challenges. So this is a tough one. I get it. There's a lot of legal frameworks from beyond the town that we have to be attentive to. So I appreciate your diligence and your patience with us as we're.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the first rendition was, to leave a 5-foot buffer for planting, but then it became clear that, well, some plantings are not going to grow more than a few inches, and if you have 5 on each side, you've got a 10-foot alleyway. All right, so that was unworkable. So then it just, transitioned into maybe there's a way we can just shift the burden on the person planting to be responsible if there's an encroachment. But even with that, there's concerns that have been raised. So let's, take public comment and then close the hearing and,
Thank you.
yeah, thanks. Renotice it in whatever shape it comes forward as. Okay, so I do have one card. Steve, I'm having trouble. Jufrey, thank you.
Steve Jufrey, Spionk, also president of the East End Contractors Association. And I'd just like to, I guess, instead of speaking at everything you guys were talking about, say what a great job you've been doing with promoting planting trees, which I feel like this is actually going in the wrong direction, which I'm a little concerned about, I guess. And, as I've come here before about affordable housing and the traffic, and you guys have actually been doing things about that, and that's great. But I just feel like this law is sort of just going in the complete wrong direction, and I think we want trees, right? I mean...
Oh, yeah, well, we do want people to plant trees.
And,
we just want you to be responsible if you're encumbering your neighbor and, you're responsible for what you do.
For sure. And I as also a landscaper and arborist for the last 20 years, like I see, certain trees maybe are a hazard, and I totally get that. But, we take care of like over 200 properties in the area, and pretty much everyone has a hedge or trees or something that blocks their neighbors. So I just think that, the people that can shape or trim or whatever their trees on their own side they're going to make it look the way they want to make it look. You know what I mean? I don't want my neighbor coming and trimming my trees a certain way or whatever, or, they see their side, I see my side. And I just feel like kind of the way the law is right now, whatever's on my side, I can do whatever I want with, and whatever's on their side, they can do whatever they want with. And I just don't see why are a lot of people complaining that, like, is this a huge issue, I guess? Or is this just like it seems like a very minimal thing that we're creating a much bigger problem by changing, I guess. I don't know. I'd be happy also to work with Sean if he's going to
take another look at it.
Yeah, if he's going to do anything, from an arborist perspective, and maybe certain types of trees that could cause a significant damage or, to someone's house or something like that, maybe can be in this law. But I think like planting privet, like near the hedge, near the property line, is not really harming someone like significantly, and they're allowed to trim it if they want to, whatever's on their side.
Actually, a privet does harm people, because if you got someone who's very wealthy and plants a privet 200 feet down their property line, and you have a regular working class person who owns the neighbor, is a neighbor to them, or older person, they might not have the time, the money, or the whereabouts to go trim a hedge down there.
Sometimes they're so tall, you have to hire someone.
You have to hire someone. So it's not fair for that neighbor to be penalized because that other neighbor can afford to have a hedge 15 feet high, 10 feet high, 8 feet high, 6 feet high. That's not right.
I think the point that he's making, though, which is a good point to be made, is no matter what we do, we're not going to make everybody happy.
No, you're not going to make everyone happy, but certain things can't be planted on the property line.
And
that's what I'm saying. Certain things, yes, that's why we can add in.
Unless the neighbors consent.
But to his point is, is very well taken in that I've had people, that support this say, well, I want my neighbor to prune these. It's costing me over $1,000 every year to prune these trees. And my point to them was, well, if you're spending over $1,000 every year to prune those trees, then you're maintaining a beautiful hedgerow on your side of your property. And if your neighbor has to come and prune it, there's nothing that forces him to maintain a nice hedgerow for you. He can just slap it back to your property line. You can look at sticks like we have across the street by the funeral home. You know what I mean? Like, there's no standard of you have to prune this and you have to do it well and you have to make it beautiful. It's either you have to prune it or you don't. And to my point is, I would rather prune it to where I want it to look.
If you have the ability to do so, though, and I think that's the point. The people that we've heard from are people who are typically old, seniors who may not necessarily be able to do it, whether there's financial issues or they may have mobility challenges. And a lot of these neighbors, I will say this. A lot of the neighbors are good neighbors. I have neighbors that do it. They do a wonderful job, and no questions asked, right? Because they know it's their trees. They know they planted them. The majority of our neighbors are good neighbors, but there are a few absentee folks who maybe live here 3 months out of the year, and they're not necessarily taking care of what's on their neighbor's property. And those are the people that are coming to us saying, well, what about us? And so, but you raise a lot of really important points too. And I think, I've spoken to a lot of members of the community who bring up property rights and look, I shouldn't have to, do this or that. And there are a lot of valid points. And that's why, as Sean mentioned, we're kind of wrestling with this. This is not necessarily a one shot, and one size fits all kind of
And
thing.
I appreciate that you're not just make a rule and then we're just stuck with the result. I mean, it's great that
We have to find the balance for everyone.
Yeah, I think that also just based on my own customers, I feel like a lot of the elderly people that you're talking about definitely have those hedges that are growing onto their neighbors. So I feel like it maybe can have the adverse effects
That they now have to
pay to trim on their neighbor's side. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely affecting people in different ways, and every property is different. And I guess and also I don't want my neighbor hiring whoever on my property and they get hurt or something, because you have to go on someone else's property now to do trimming. Isn't from a legal perspective, like, do they have workman's comp? What if they get hurt? Are they going to sue me? Like, I don't want someone coming and trimming trees on my property that I don't know if they're capable of doing.
Sure.
I guess.
Sure.
So there's definitely just, I guess, a lot to think about, but
That's
Which
exactly
is why I
Yeah,
think that
so-
the state ended up with self-help.
Yeah.
So I'm more than happy to help work on something that could be.
This is why this is going to take a long time.
And I think you guys are doing great with everything else. So I'm not trying to say you're not doing a good job. I'm just thinking this particular thing could use a little more
Thank you,
help.
and thank you for being respectful. Really appreciate that.
But to your point that this seems like a minor thing, and why are we, focused on it? I mean, we are looking at big issues like sewer treatment plants and water quality and affordable housing. But just
and
because
and traffic and everything, and you guys are like the only ones that ever done anything about the traffic. So that's great. You know what I mean?
When somebody else raises an issue, whether it's noise or plantings or something, we want to be responsive to them too. And sometimes what might be perceived as a little thing is the stickiest, how to resolve it.
Yeah.
It's difficult because every property is different, and maybe what maybe makes sense in one property doesn't make sense for another. So I totally understand, and that's why I was thinking if
We
there was
can't do
specific
spot
types
laws.
of trees you couldn't plant near the property line that would be hazardous, that could fall on someone's house or something like that. I totally understand that, but I just think privet growing over like 3 feet onto the property line isn't the worst thing that we can have, I guess. At least if you don't get along with that neighbor and you want to sue them, good thing you have those trees or those privet or whatever, you know what I mean? Otherwise you would have to see them every day. So, I mean, trees make the best neighbors, you know what I mean? And it just, overall, if you drive around Southampton, like, it's the hedges and the landscaping that really makes it. Otherwise, like, we're like Manhattan, you know what I mean? Like, that's the difference, I guess. It's just that's what we want. We want hedges. We want trees. We want, I think we want them anyway, right? So,
We do. That's why we're doing a tree
Yeah.
clearing code too.
so totally understand it. And, Sean, you can reach out to me if you have anything. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I just wouldn't mind reaching out to the elected officials. I help them put pen to paper, obviously, and draft these things, but I make a point of working with every elected official. If you can contact them directly first, just so I'm not inundated with 10,000 emails about trees tomorrow. I don't come up with any of it. I assist the board members in drafting. So I just want to make that known.
Their comments should
Reach
be
out.
directed.
You come up with some things.
Some legalese.
He refines
sometimes.
the ideas.
But yes, we want a board member, we want an elected official reaching out first, and I'll help with the ideas.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank
good
you.
point, thank you.
You can reach out to Maria or myself, and we'd be happy to. Yeah, look, we want to
We'll
include
pass it
everybody.
along to the rest of the board, and we're all going to talk about it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll try to help
collaborate
make
and
it,
get something done.
I guess, as well as I can to protect people, but also not take away from
Right.
other people. I guess I can provide some insight on different types of trees.
Send us
that-
your thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Mary, I see you're here. I know you submitted a letter. Would you like to get up and say something?
My husband, I wrote a very emotional letter, so I'm going to read part of his. Because
State your name for the, let us have your
the
name
Irish
for the record.
extremes were coming out. Okay. I wish to express my concern with the
Mary,
current.
could you just state your name for
Oh,
the record?
sorry. Mary Pierce. I wish to express my concern with the current proposal regarding planting of shrubs and trees along property lines. First off, I fully support the intent of the proposal, with just one caveat that stems from an experience our family has had with our neighbor. 35 years ago, he planted 24 Leland cypress trees along our property, placing the trees approximately 6 feet from the property line. I fully admit I had no idea that they would mature to 30 feet high and extend onto my neighbor's property. Over the years, our neighbors would trim the branches back to the property line. I do believe your proposed legislation is warranted to have the tree owner pay for any trimming of branches that extend into another's property. Unfortunately, our neighbors went to the extreme 2 years ago and created a ditch along the property line in order to cut the roots of my trees, which resulted in the death of the trees fully on my property. After successfully killing off the first 12 trees by cutting the root system, this spring they created a new ditch, cutting the roots of my remaining trees while leaving the roots from their trees that extend onto my property intact. They skipped that part. My concern with this legislation is that it should have a provision that any cure to the encroachment, Section 2, Paragraph 3, does not extend to the destruction or injury to the main support systems of the tree. The legislation should make clear that it offers no immunity from civil action after said destruction. I realize this is just one incident, and the majority of neighbors would not go to such extremes, as well as the legislation only applies to new plantings. But I feel obligated to make you aware that the potential exists of the death of multitude of trees across the town in the future.
That's a good point. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Peter, is there anyone on Zoom who would like to be heard?
There is. I'll bring Dorothy on.
Okay, am I on?
We don't see
hear you.
her.
Me?
We can hear you.
We can hear you,
Okay.
but we can't see Dorothy.
Oh, let me see why. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay,
There you are.
is
Hi,
that working?
Dorothy.
Yep.
Okay, hi. Okay, thank you to everyone. I know this has been a long process for the entire board here, and I really appreciate it. There are a lot of details. Both of the two speakers today had a lot of interesting things to say. I'd like to say about the contractor, because my neighbor had a contractor landscaper and put his 240 feet of trees, Crypto Maria and Green Giants, right 2 feet from the property line, with me intervening to stop it, which meant nothing. They would not push them back closer to their property. Meanwhile, within 2 years, of course, they're on my property, and I do have a fence, and they infringe right into my fence, and they don't want to take care of it. So as far as contractors, I don't think they're always, this man might have been, but many of them are not respectful of the neighbor, the adjoining neighbor. They're respectful of using every inch of property for the house that they're working on. As far as the roots, I think that's an issue we hadn't thought about, really. What do you do about the roots? But when you have these very large trees coming over, it's very challenging and it's very destructive to if there's a fence or it's your own land or your own plantings. And I think what you did that was really terrific was push it on to the neighbor who's doing the planting to be responsible. And if that neighbor can just trim, it's sort of a straight up thing. It's not about privets, those kinds of hedges. Those are very easy to trim, and they don't die out and all that. It's the other trees that you need someone professional to trim so that you don't end up with this browning on the one side. So I think you're doing a good job. I'm sorry that today we're not wrapping up this topic because it's really going on a long time. But we're getting close, and I understand some of the problems, but I'm hoping we can just sort of cut to the chase and take care of it, because it should not be the inflicted neighbor's problem, and that's really what you're fixing. Yeah. And I think it could be very straight up. You give a note to your neighbor. You have 30 days. Can you please trim it? Everything should be very nice. I don't see why it should be hostile. Could you please trim it? You have 30 days to do it. You see it's over, and that person can do it. If it's me, I trim mine, but they can just trim it. And if they don't want to trim it, then we need to go to the next step. What happens? So I thank you for addressing this topic.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter, is there anyone else on Zoom?
No one else.
Okay. Then what I'd like to do is just close the public hearing, and I think we're going to end up renoticing this.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Madam, thank you, Sean, so much.
Thank you, Sean.
And Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the last public hearing?
Public hearing number 6, to consider the Town of Southampton Highway Department Water Quality Improvement Projects for 2025, Community Preservation Fund, CPF 20% Water Quality Improvement Project Funding.
Good afternoon, Madam Supervisor and Town Council members. Jackie Fenlon, Director of the Community Preservation Department. And I just wanted to also announce that I have Emily Estration here, who's our Senior Environmental Analyst. She was helping me put up the numerous maps. I apologize for any disruption we might have caused, but there was 9 of them. And I just wanted to be here before you today because we are introducing 9 various projects that are stormwater and pollution abatement projects from the Highway Department. So these are internal projects for you to review.
Oh, and you handed out the...
Yes.
Yes. So, and I do apologize because we thought they were in the same order. Sure.
Thank you.
So these are 9 Highway Department requests for water quality funding. Most of these are dead-end roads, which are currently not served with adequate stormwater drainage. So stormwater runoff is actually going directly into the local and adjacent water bodies. So we have met with the Highway Department Superintendent and Deputy Superintendent, and then we have also reviewed with the water quality throughout the spring and the early summer the projects that were submitted by the Highway Department. So we did receive a recommendation memo, which is mentioned in the resolution today, and I'll kind of summarize their recommendations. I'll go through project by project, but I did want to put them all on together because they're all Highway Department projects, and they're all ones that have been reviewed and vetted by the Water Quality Advisory Committee.
And the committee is recommending.
Yes, yes. So the first one is Corwin Lane, road ending improvements. So this is a remediation project that impacts the watershed of Tiana Bay. I did want to make a correction, and I will stay for the resolution that's on later in the evening, but the requested funding for this one was actually inaccurate in the posting, but it was $448,400. So we are the recommendation of the Water Quality Advisory Committee by their recommendation on June 30th is $328,800. That is generally removing the requirements for paving and just some of the grading to lift the road. So basically focusing the funding on what will actually improve water quality. So I just wanted to make that correction because that is under the Corwin Lane.
What is the?
The requested amount was $448,400.
So the amount in the resolution is correct.
The amount in the the amount in the resolution for the recommended funding is correct. Just the initial request is higher, and that unfortunately that was just a typo.
Okay.
I just want to say, just also the trustees have stuff to do with this. The highway are working very closely with the trustees. I know this project very well because I tried to do this like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're,
Would not pick this
yeah,
up.
and I think Bill, Councilman Pell, that's a very good point, because a lot of these dead-end roads, they might also impact a boat launch or a neighboring adjacent park property. So we're trying to work with interdepartments to try to do these kinds of funding assignments and allocations at the same time. So both, the area can be looked at cohesively rather than independently, the trustees doing a boat ramp and then us doing that end of the road. We're trying to work together with the trustees.
This is like a lower end of the neighborhood, and all the water comes rushing down. It used to come right down and wash the boat ramp right out.
See, it helps to have a former trustee on the board now.
Sometimes.
So this will intercept stormwater that presently flows down south on Corwin Lane, ponds in the roadway, and then drains into Tiana Bay with no treatment. It includes regrading, repaving part of the roadway, replacing part of the roadway with gravel, and permeable pavers. So that will also help treat some of the stormwater before it runs into the capture system. This is also proposing replacing part of the roadway with gravel and permeable pavers, and then constructing a vegetated bioswale near the south end of the road to capture and treat stormwater runoff. So the total requested amount was $448,400. There is no match for this project, but we did note in the recommendation memo that the project is coordinated with the adjoining Town Trustee Boat Ramp project, who is also requesting CPF funding through the grant program this year. So because of the review of the committee finds that construction of the vegetated swale and replacement of the portion of the current asphalt pavement with more permeable gravel and pavers has value from water quality improvement for Tiana Bay. However, the replacement of the existing asphalt pavement, including elevating the pavement to alleviate flooding, will not contribute to water quality improvement. And similarly, replacing the existing guardrail, which appears intact, with a new guardrail serves no water quality purposes. That's why, therefore, we recommend funding this project in the amount of $328,800, the total project cost minus the restoration of the pavement and guardrail. This funding will enable Highway to implement these water quality improvement measures in conjunction with their regrading and repaving project. That's Corwin Lane, so I'll just point to it here. The next one we are moving to is Rose Hill Road. So this is in the reduction and remediation project type and also in the Mecox Bay watershed. They were requesting $391,640, and this is a similar adjustment due to paving, which I'll get to further on. But the recommended funding for this would be $200,140 for water quality impacts. So I'll just read through. This is basically their comments, but also has a description of the project. This is again intended to intercept stormwater that presently flows down Rose Hill Road and ponds up on the adjacent road before draining into Mecox Bay with no treatment. The project includes regrading, elevating, repaving the roadway, and constructing a vegetative swale along the west side of the road to capture and treat stormwater runoff via infiltration. The stone overflow channel will be constructed at the south side of the swale to allow for excess stormwater discharge without associated erosion. The total cost of the project is $391,640. There is no match for this project. The committee finds that the construction of the vegetative swale, repaving, has value from the standpoint of water quality for Mecox Bay. However, the installation of additional pavement, including elevating the pavement to alleviate flooding, will not contribute to water quality improvements. So without without replacement of the guardrail and the other features that don't serve water quality impacts, they recommend funding in the amount of $200,140. So that is basically the project minus the guardrail and paving.
Again, this was brought to the town board like maybe 12 years ago.
All right.
And because this is a big road runoff into Maycox Bay.
Yes.
And you can see it. This would save a lot of nitrogen going into Maycox Bay. Thanks for doing this.
So the bioswale is really what's the
Yeah.
feature that's going
It's
to help.
basically capturing,
Thank
treating,
you.
and then the bioswale, yeah.
The what?
Capturing and treating is being done in the bioswale. And if you have any technical questions, we do have Keith Masseria here from LK McLean.
But the asphalt restoration is not included.
Correct. Yeah, because essentially it's like the repaving of the road or the raising of the road is not really going to impact water quality, but the treatment, the capture, and the redirecting of stormwater will improve these water bodies. Did you have any questions? Okay. So the next one I will go to is Shore Road and Yacht Club Drive. This was referred to in the memo as Halsey Road, which is the north-south road that comes down in the Spionk-Remsenburg hamlet. So this project is also a new weir division structure, stormwater treatment system, and associated piping and outflow. So there's an existing outflow pipe that goes directly into the canal right there and is not currently being treated. And there's also ponding in this vicinity. So this is to have a planted bioswale be installed adjacent to the road and store excess stormwater, and a portion of the existing asphalt road will be replaced with gravel to improve stormwater and infiltration. The present stormwater accumulates on the road surface surrounding the area of the south end of Halsey Road. There is also one drainage structure and an outflow pipe that discharges untreated stormwater directly into the canal that connects to Murch's Bay. The existing drainage facilities do not adequately manage or treat the stormwater, and ponding is an issue at the road end. The total cost for this is $502,000, and there is no match. The committee finds that construction of the improved stormwater management treatment facilities is likely to result in some improvement in the water quality to the canal, into which the stormwater drains, and ultimately to Murch's Bay. Although the majority of the costs of the project are water quality related, the costs, again, for asphalt and guide rail are not. Therefore, we recommend funding the project in the amount of $348,000, which is the total cost minus the asphalt and guardrail. So, this is another good one.
Yes, again, this was like 16 years ago when I first became a trustee. This was my area, and I noticed there was a straight pipe going right down with the water was not being treated, no filter, and the water used to come down and wash over the bulkhead. Cindy can stand, because this is in Cindy's neighborhood. And that, also the trustees this fall is replacing that bulkhead in there.
Is that what the
along
bulkhead
there.
is?
Yes,
Yeah,
all the way around.
So right here, this is the proposed, but there currently is an outflow pipe that goes directly into the canal, and it just discharges untreated stormwater directly into the canal right here. And this is also, I believe, a town marina
Yes,
where
the town owns
residents.
it. The town owns it, and the trustees run it.
So what's the stormwater treatment
Amount?
parcel? Piece?
So
What is that?
So it's in the highway right away, but we'd be treating this with
No, the little square, it's like a little
Oh.
square with red in it.
capture.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the
I can
filter.
I'll let Keith
Okay.
explain.
So let me just make sure that, just so I want to make sure that they, you're here for the highway department, are they aware of and are they okay with receiving just the recommended funding on all of these?
Well, this is the Water Qualities Board's funding. I do have a resolution on today, but I mean, we can.
They
Everybody,
know.
they're okay with it?
Yeah, they're okay.
Okay.
Do you want to explain the features of that drainage system?
Keith Masseria from McLean Associates, representing the Highway Department. This square structure here has a weir in it, so it actually diverts the water into the stormwater treatment.
What in it?
A weir. So it takes like the low flow and it allows it to get diverted into the stormwater treatment system, which is the circular structure, and that filters out sediment, floatables, debris, and oil.
Is that a hydrodynamic separator you're putting in?
Hydrodynamic separator, yeah.
Boy, I thought those would be pretty expensive.
They're pretty expensive. They're like usually around $100,000, something like
But-
that.
It's covered, that would be covered. Yeah. And you got the backflow valve.
Yep.
Huh, all right, well, that's interesting. So that'll help with the impurities before it goes, discharges to the water.
Yeah, it has to be cleaned out every 6 months or so, but the highway department will take care of that.
You can use the new vac truck to do that.
Exactly. Yep.
So again, that was funding for 348,000 was recommended by the committee. The next request and application that was made was Tanner's Neck Lane improvements, which is a reduction in remediation and impacts the watershed and water body of Merch's Bay. So this requested funding was originally $623,300. The recommended funding with this is $423,000 and $500. So again, this is to intercept stormwater that presently accumulates on the road at the south end of Tanner's Neck Lane and then drains directly into Merch's Bay with no treatment. The pavement ends at the bay and the asphalt road is eroding into the bay. The project includes regrading, elevating, and repaving the road and constructing a grass drainage swale on both sides of the road and vegetated bioswale at the end of the road to capture and treat stormwater runoff via infiltration. The stone overflow channel will be constructed on the north side of the swale to allow for excess stormwater discharge without associated erosion.
I have one other question for you, because I mean, we're seeing this in, obviously it's in theory, right? But like Round Pond, Sag Harbor, that there's issues with, like, how do we, we're just okaying like a bunch of diagrams and Grasscrete, and I don't know what Grasscrete looks like. I don't know that it's gonna be something that the neighbors are happy to see, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, like, there's no conceptual, like, we're saying yes, but we're not actually seeing what it's gonna look like, if that makes sense.
Oh, you'd like to
the
understand
round-
like a
round
visual?
one as an example, like
Visuals,
that
visuals.
hill going down with the black mat.
Like the schematics are nice, but the
Yeah.
visuals would be like the materials that are.
Like the materials, how it's gonna ultimately look after construction?
Yeah.
Well, an
Or
as,
something
an
similar-
as-built doesn't
like
show
when
you what
say-
it looks
when you
like,
say,
it
there's
shows you
Grass
what was.
Creek, like, what does Grasscrete look like generally, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to see it perfectly on the plan, but what are these materials and what do they look like? And
Yeah,
you're
is
talking
that
about
like-
boulders and stuff, like, is it stuff people can walk on, can they, you know what I mean? Like,
The legend
those
would be
kind of
nice.
things.
Is Grasscrete the same as Checker Block?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll let you
it's,
talk to the
yes.
specifics.
Maybe you can explain the one did out east. I can't remember the name. You just did it a little while ago. Water quality.
Which one?
I'm trying to. I can see it, but I can't think of the name of it. It's towards Sag Harbor. We
Don't
did
say Round Pond.
But as far as the Grass Creek's concerned, essentially it is.
Like pavers that the grass grows through.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually just installed this at Cobb Road in Water.
Yeah, that's not what I was thinking about.
What's this made of, though? This,
Because I mean, that stuff looks okay when stuff actually grows through it, but when it doesn't, it.
So there's two options. You could have gravel in the voids, which actually looks pretty nice. The one at Cobb Road, the grass was placed at like an odd time, so it actually, to be honest, it doesn't look that good. But the contractors are going to have to come back in the spring and reseed it. So that one, once it's established, that will look nice. And the idea is that it essentially just looks like grass, but it's an area that you can drive on without rutting it out and causing the grass, depressions in it, in the future.
what's the big square at the end made of that's going
This
right
one?
next to the bay? Yeah.
This is it's a vegetated bioswale, so it's all natural wetland vegetation.
And if that slows, if you do ever get a heavy duty rainstorm, that'll keep it from rutting out.
How did you decide on the prior one, Shore Road, to put the unit, the hydrodynamic separator, but here there isn't one? I mean, what went into that calculus?
So the stormwater treatment systems exist at two locations. We haven't gotten to the second one yet, but it's generally where there's an existing outfall. And we're trying not to put any new outfalls in where they don't exist, but where they are. You retrofit them, you put that unit in where we can. We're supplementing that with the bioswales, but the bioswale is preferred. But if you have an existing outfall pipe, we keep it, and that allows all the sediment, pollutants, and things like that to get filtered
Bioswale
out.
actually looks better and it's less upkeep.
Is there possible to remove the discharge pipe and just go with the bioswale instead?
I think in this case, because people do park here for the marina, there may not be enough space, and given the size of the watershed and the fact that there is an outfall pipe, there might be too much water heading to this point, so we might be making there's a drainage system that extends up into the neighborhood. So if we take this pipe out, we might be creating a problem somewhere else.
Okay, all right,
It's-
thank
In
you.
the past, when you get a heavy rainstorm, actually the water comes down the road and used to go right over the bulkhead before the bulkhead was all dilapidated.
And then Jackie, are you, like, do you make sure that anywhere where there is, like, pedestrian access, that it remains and isn't impeded by, like, boulders or?
Yeah, we do take that into account during the review, and we can continue to, review, fine tuning of the construction plans. But this essentially allows them to like get to work and do a full,
Especially when the highway, and you guys looked at it, access was one of the biggest things. Everywhere that we're trying to improve the access, make it more, people friendly.
Yeah, and some of these road endings are crumbling already, right? So we're kind of like retreating from that shoreline or that dead end road and providing some native plantings or, trying to, yeah.
But so this would, unlike the other three, this would prevent, they no longer have access, right, off of the road ending, whereas,
No, you can
because,
still-
well,
you
it
can still
says it's
walk
all a vegetated bioswale, this whole thing is all vegetated, so you can't walk through it.
This one was discussed, and I'm not as familiar with the site, but I believe there is a pathway that goes down the side here.
Sides.
So that is just beyond, so that kind of natural neighborhood and community path actually goes here, but we
Bring
did
a
take
car
that
in.
into
Right.
consideration.
That we were preserving those access points when we do these projects.
And if
Yeah.
I could just bring up
That's a
one
good
more
point.
point. Most of these didn't, like you have the boat ramp, you can access that pretty easily. The marina, that wasn't necessarily an issue. This one, access wasn't, the water essentially comes up to the end of the road, so it wasn't quite as critical, but in the case of one that we haven't gotten to, we have a staircase that goes down to the water, so it's definitely on a case-by-case basis. In some areas, it was warranted because it already existed, and
This one's just the neighborhood access.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we were preserving that.
People walk down it, during the daytime.
I mean, and when we meet with the highway department, we always kind of say like, all right, sometimes the easiest thing, right, is to put in a new outflow. CPF funding and water quality funding is not going to be utilized for a new contamination point. But when there is a contamination point that we're aware of, we're trying to capture, treat, and as much as possible use natural bioswales or rain gardens. When that capacity is too much for those bioswales to, accommodate, that's when we might install additional, capture and abatement stormwater structures, as well as, like you just said, the outflow pipe. We're going to now separate the sediments, the oils, and the solids from that location that used to be able to possibly just flow directly into the canal. So,
All right, thank you. What's the next?
So, let's see, I'm losing my
6.
spot here. 5, right?
No, five.
Sorry.
So we were just at Tanner, so right here. So this is the Watermill Dam. So this is right by the Watermill Museum in Watermill. So this was a reduction project. So this is to reduce the amount of stormwater that presently discharges into Watermill Dam and enters Mill Creek. So this impacts the watersheds of Mill Creek and Mecox Bay. The requested funding for this one was $57,100, and the recommended funding is $35,800. So again, this is existing stormwater which drains into Mill Creek and then impacts the water quality of Mecox Bay and receives no treatment. It includes installing sediment filters into the existing catch basins along Old Mill Road and at the dam, and then a 2-year supply of replacement filtrage cartridges is also included. So that way they can continue to maintain it, get used to basically the maintenance requirements for this. So the total, again, cost was $57,100. There was no match, but the committee finds that installation of the sediment filters into the existing stormwater catch basin is likely to result in some water quality improvement for Mill Creek and ultimately Mecox Bay. As the benefit of this project must last for 5 years, we recommended funding additional supply of filters, the estimated of $8,700, so that water quality improvement lasts for at least 5 years. The committee also found that some of the proposed project tasks associated costs, including surveying, base mapping, permitting, plans, and design, are not necessary for this project, which involves simply installing the inserts into the existing catch basins. Therefore, the cost for these tasks, a total of $20,000, should be eliminated from the budget. And consider these changes, the committee recommends funding in the amount of $35,800. So that's just minusing the surveying because it's just really retrofitting the existing structures.
Do we have those sediment filters throughout the town on different things? I mean, or is this a new?
Would probably be better to see if we've
More
utilized.
labor intensive now.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. I think this is somewhat new to the town. We do a lot of work with the town of Hempstead, and this product is something that they use regularly. It's an alternative to the stormwater treatment system. It's a centralized unit versus decentralized. So if you have a few isolated catch basins, you'll be able to install these at a much less expensive rate than the other unit. But in the case of the other jobs, the bigger stormwater treatment system is good for larger watersheds. In this case, it's a very isolated area.
Thank you.
Were there any other questions on that one? The next one is the Whalebone Landing Road water quality improvements. So this is a remediation project and it affects the watershed of Little Peconic Bay. The requested funding on this project was $444,300. This was also recommended funding in the full amount. Yes. Sorry, going page to page. So this is removing 2 existing stormwater outfall pipes and installing new weir diversion structures, stormwater treatment system, which is the downstream defender, and associated piping and outfall pipe at the west end of Whalebone Landing Road. At present, the untreated stormwater discharges via the outfall pipes over land and directly onto the beach adjoining Little Peconic Bay. As part of this project, a concrete curb wall will be installed to direct stormwater towards the catch basins, and the concrete stairs and gravel walkway will be constructed to maintain the existing back beach access. A stone revetment covered by beach-compatible sand and beach plantings is also included to help stabilize the shoreline. The asphalt restoration included in this project is minimal, only what is needed to repair the road after installing the stormwater management structures. So they are recommending the full amount in this specific case.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another good project.
And if there's no other questions, I'll go to the last 3. And I just wanted to note that the last 3, we had a productive Zoom meeting, but with all of these are very sensitive, as well as they impact, certain wildlife and aquatic species. So what has happened here, and we've talked to Highway Department as well as their engineers and consultants, but what we're doing is we're going to try to, we've already coordinated with the Peconic Estuary Program, but we're going to recommend funding of engineering for these 3. So
Of
instead of, and just the engineering and design phase for these.
We have to, before we go farther, we have to look at the plan, make sure we're doing it very carefully.
So the last one is dam trail fish passage, but they're all very case specific. So this is an existing dam, but we do want to make sure that fish and aquatic species can navigate underneath the road safely. So this is one where we're just talking to them about what's the best way to design this. Certain species need to see light penetration to go under a certain road. So we're working on that.
Director Penman, are you saying with the Peconic Estuary Program or partnership?
Oh, sorry, partnership.
Okay.
But we had a nice Zoom. So basically, both of these are a little bit different, but we're looking at, possible alewife impacts for their migration patterns, as well as other aquatic life.
Eels.
Yes, American eels as well as even, other, animals that are dependent, otter, raccoons, muskrats.
On this, CPF just bought this piece of property, tore the house down.
Yes.
We tore it down in-house, the highway, the transfers did it. Actually, the neighborhood brought this project to us. They would like to see this done.
So again, these 3, just because they're such sensitive ecological impacts, and we want to make sure wildlife passage is, best accommodated by the project. We're just recommending for the last 3, which is kind of why I put them at the end, not because they're last ones we thought of, but just to allow for engineering and design to really get underway this year, so that we can actually look at the project.
And you'll keep us posted as that moves along?
Yes. One's Trout Pond.
Yep.
And the other one is Sabonic Road where it floods.
Yeah, I support all these 3. I would say, all of these projects have, I've heard from a lot of constituents about where these are, and I think, to echo Councilman Pell, these have been sort of in the pressure cooker for a very long time. So it's great to see that they are finally moving along, and I credit you, Jackie, as well as the Highway Department as well. They've really been working with our offices and your office, so appreciate
And
all of you.
LKMA for the design,
LKMA,
the conceptual
thank you.
designs.
Jackie's going to can't wait till this stuff gets done, so I don't have to call in and say.
But I also think, like, we finally have the resources to do this, right? And a lot of these projects, and I'm trying to also, work with interdepartments, because I also think, like, the town projects need to be, like, highlighted. A lot of the earlier grant rounds, we were getting a lot of private, non-profit, and villages and fellow municipalities, but, like, we also really need to look at our own highway system, our drainage systems, and, just be smarter about the way we implement things. So, we had an initial meeting, I think it was in January of this year, to see, like, which ones would qualify and which ones really don't, or just more like repaving or, drainage projects. So we've been working really closely with them, but I think it will impact the water quality, for years to come. So, let's lead by example, essentially, is what I'm saying.
Money well worth spending.
Yep, so the last three, I'll note it for the record, but dam, trail, fish passage, that is a total project which is estimated to be $692,300. They are recommending the funding for the engineering and design, which is $125,000. Shrubland Road, habitat restoration, this is by Cold Spring Pond. This is a total project that it's close to $1 million, which will be $978,000. But we're recommending right now the $84,000 for engineering and design.
On that one, I never realized there was that many pipes going across the road. I always thought there were like 4 pipes.
Mm-hmm.
I always counted 4 when we went, Eel and O'Clammon. And I think there's 10.
Yeah, well, and this is a case where there's culverts, which you don't really know that are there, right? If somebody driving down the road doesn't understand, but it's essentially connecting the tidal flow with the wetlands on the other side of the street. So we also want to look at that very carefully, because, it's very low grade. The road actually floods during high tides and storm events, so we can take a look at that and just make sure that we're doing the best that we can. But then also, this is possibly, I did ask Joyce Novak, who's the director for Peconic Estuary Partnership, but she is confirming that this is also possibly an alewife run in this location. And this is also one of the most critical non-impaired water bodies where shellfish are raised in Cold Spring. And then last but not least, I know that the town is looking at doing some road improvements just to the east of this, but Trout Pond culvert replacement. So this is a very important place where we have the town park right to the south, and it goes up very steep and grade, and then you have an existing culvert underneath the existing road right now. So we want to make sure that that existing fish ladder is replaced with a more sustainable approach. But if anyone's familiar with Trout Pond, there is an existing fish staircase that used to function, but now it's overgrown, and it's basically it's deteriorated. Yeah. So this is another one where they had just requested funding for the engineering, so we are recommending in the full amount, which is $149,000.
When that gets done, and when the sidewalks get done, that'll be a nice project for people to enjoy.
Yeah, so I know the sidewalk project and the walkability project is just a little bit,
just waiting for the state to approve the plans. That's my understanding.
So this is just to the west of that.
And I will say that's actually a good point. I want to say that a lot of the community that lives in and around Trout Pond, they're very much looking forward to the sidewalk so that they can be able to access it safely, because Noyak Road is difficult to traverse.
It is, absolutely.
So these engineering costs are part of the total project cost. So if they come back, it'll be, the 692 less the 125 we already funded.
It'll just be for the construction and project implementation costs. Yeah. So we'll be paying this year for the engineering. That way we can fully vet this, work with the Peconic Estuary Partnership, and work with, the consultants and engineering design team to make sure that we have the best, basically, design before implementing. And also helps refine the estimates. But these ones are they're very important, but also very technical in nature.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that brings us to, pardon me? Oh, did we? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't have any cards on this, but Peter, is there anyone on Zoom for this public hearing?
No one has their hand up.
Oh, good. Then I renew my motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right, that brings us to the public portion. I do have a couple of cards. First one is Heather Schmalz, Southampton Business Alliance.
Yes. Hello, my name's Heather Schmalz. I'm the new executive director with the Southampton Business Alliance. I just wanted to say hello, introduce myself today. Nothing to report just yet, just saying hello. And I did send everyone a letter. I hope you guys received it.
Yes, thank you for the email.
Thank you for coming in and introducing yourself.
Thank you, appreciate it. This was interesting, watching all this. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, of course, let us know if the business community has any thoughts on what we can be doing to be more helpful. In that regard, we're always open to suggestions. Okay. All right, next is Catherine. Catherine, help me pronounce your last name. Galucci.
It's easier than it looks.
It is.
You don't pronounce the second G.
I'm glad I didn't try.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I returned today after listening to your work session last week to add a few more comments for review. While I do not agree with an 11-hour workday, I respect your concerns and can appreciate your compromise to end work at 6 p.m. with no work on Sundays or federal holidays. Regarding your apprehension on the quality of life issues, restricting demolition and exterior construction on Saturdays and Sundays during July and August, I believe this needs more discussion. I heard it said that suggesting these restrictions are an attack on the trade and completely unfair. In reality, it is the taxpayers who are being treated unfairly. Allowing the trade to work every day of the year is completely biased to the trade. The current trade rights completely overtake homeowners' rights. Based on your reactions, with all due respect, I am certain there is no one on this board that has lived next to a construction site operating 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, for months at a time, as I have for 10 months. That allowance has created an assault on Southampton residents' peace through the constant noise and traffic. The balance between work and community tranquility is completely skewed toward the trade. Asking for 1 day a week plus 8 Saturdays in the summer for quiet days is hardly unreasonable or unfair. The relentless noise, banging, cutting, drilling, yelling, chopping, clanking, beeping, dust, hour after hour, day after day, is deeply disturbing and unsettling for those who have to listen to it. I ask also, what about our senior citizens who cannot easily escape the constant racket? This is more than an inconvenience. It is a genuine quality of life issue that must be corrected. To taxpayers that want their friends to help them build or renovate, they will be asked to be thoughtful and plan their projects before July weekends so everyone can enjoy their summer here. Concerns for tradesmen? Most of these lengthy projects are commissioned by homeowners from Manhattan, where work is limited to 8 hours a day and never on weekends for the sake of fellow residents. So their hired tradesmen here will adjust to what is best for the common good of Southampton, too. This is a summer community. Our tax-paying residents and local businesses thrive during the season, and we should protect that. Limiting noise and traffic on summer weekends is a small but meaningful step towards preserving what makes Southampton special. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you want, you can hand that in.
Okay. Yeah, that would be good. Can we get copies?
Somebody else stamp it.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
I guess you get a copy of that letter. Peter, is anyone on Zoom?
No one has their hand up.
So I will just say, Catherine, thank you for coming. We are working on this. We're having internal discussions, and I think are we preparing for another work session on this topic with respect to the building permitting process?
Happy to have one, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to have another work session. I think it absolutely deserves some more attention. So we'll keep you updated on that.
I actually had lunch with a friend who came out who rented a house for the month of August. Same house for the last 5 years, and when he got out, he's been listening to that 7 days a week. And he says,
want to be reasonable, everyone does work, I mean, myself, I want to work, but it's just, that's why I said I didn't want to be disrespectful, but to really, really think about every single day that this can go on. It's just, it's more than like a commercial, I heard you say in the meeting, like.
you have to talk from the speaker because they won't pick you up.
Well,
Let's move on.
I'll just say one last thing, that I know it's so,
I know our first thoughts go to commercial establishments or parties, and that's true, and that does bother people too, but this is something that, as we see all the construction going on, it's, for the people that live next door, really annoying. And like I could play my cell phone for you, but I know you have limited time, but I was listening to it myself as I'm listening to it live, thinking like no one would believe the noise, how loud it is, and how, I know you had mentioned about helicopters, like that's annoying too, I'm sure, but it passes by. Like to have this constant beeping, the back truck, bit forward, back, like it's really unbelievable. So I just wanted to come back hoping that you really understand where I'm coming from and other people like me.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you.
I live.
We actually have someone with their hands up on Zoom.
Hi, can we hear me?
Hi, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, I can't see you guys, but I can, have with you. Stephanie McNamara, I'm the chair of the North Sea Citizens Advisory Committee. And it was my understanding there was going to be a walk-on today in consideration of the project at 1100 Majors Path for affordable housing. I don't know if that's still a walk-on or if this is the appropriate time to discuss it.
It's walked on. It's for workforce housing.
Okay, so it is coming up today, or is this the appropriate time to speak about it or not?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Yes.
So anyway, I was watching the meeting from last week when it was presented to the board again, and I just wanted to mention that it was misrepresented about the North Sea CAC's feelings on this project and said that we were fully supportive of it. That is completely far from the truth. There was conversation when it was brought to our attention, and there was a lot of concern from the community and the members that were there. It was the first time, that we had known that it was coming. Mr. Epley had been there prior to let us know that he wanted to come and present on the project, so we knew in terms of that to get it on the agenda. So there was some support for listening to what the project was about, but as far as the concerns that were brought forth, we spoke about the fact that the neighbors who are bordering both sides of this property had not been informed, that it was not fair to them because they both purchased their property knowing that it was 5-acre zoning there. So to suddenly ask them to put 34 units next to their home is completely unfair. This property was zoned many years ago for 5-acre to protect the environment, to protect the aquifer. And, there's a reason we put 5-acre zoning in all those years ago. It was not so that we could turn around and put apartment buildings in residential areas. We had presented a lot of our concerns at that time, setbacks from the road, et cetera, environmental concerns, and again, just the appropriateness of it in this particular neighborhood, a residential neighborhood under 5-acre zoning. It was our understanding that they were going to come back and answer our questions, and we have heard nothing for 2 years. So honestly, we thought that this project was off the table until our last meeting in June, I think, when we heard that it was coming back up, and we, expressed to Mr. Pell that we wanted more information on this, and then it finally just came up at this last meeting. So in the meantime, thinking that this project was off the table, the Housing Authority came to the CAC looking for other projects, which, we were in favor of. We knew that Sandy Hollow was being expanded upon. And then there was a 9-house project that's going on North Sea Mecox Road. They were very positive in listening to our concerns about wanting to have single-family houses for affordable housing and not apartment buildings and complexes and townhouses and so forth, which is completely out of character with the North Sea community. And then we also approved of another, or, spoke in favor of another 4 houses going on the corner of Majors Path and North Sea Road. So at this point, to now come back and ask us to, consider 34 more houses in this residential tree-lined neighborhood is very concerning. The other thing that I was concerned over when I heard, when I listened to this meeting the other day, was there was, discussion of putting a sidewalk in the front. Again, it was reiterated, a sidewalk to where? It's a sidewalk to nowhere. But then that was followed by a comment saying, well, when the other property gets developed. So that's very concerning because it makes us wonder what's happening that we don't know about in terms of this other property being developed, and then a sidewalk would lead all the way into SYS. So we need to know what else is happening that we're not aware of. And we are definitely not in favor of putting this out there as it is. We elected at the time to have the town board consider it. But again, it was before we approved of all these other projects in North Sea. So I think that North Sea, has its share of housing. And if we're going to go ahead with housing, it needs to be single-family homes as appropriate to zoning, and not to be just willy-nilly changing 5-acre zoning on an 8-acre lot. To suddenly supporting 34 houses. The neighbors next door bought their property knowing and doing their due diligence, knowing that there could only be a single-family home built there, and to then come in a year later and find out that it's been purchased and now it's turning into this is very unfair to the community and to those neighbors. So I think that's about all I have to say at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
We have someone else.
Did Peter say something?
Yeah, we got someone else. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Michael.
Oh.
Is
No,
there
I was just-
someone
I was-
on, Peter, or not?
Yes, he said
Yes.
there's somebody else.
I was under the impression that they were support.
I wanted to clarify that because it's the CAC was not misrepresentative. I was at the meeting. They were asking Zach Epley, they were asking him a lot of questions, as Stephanie had said. This was at the CAC meeting. They were asking lots of very specific questions about what it was going to look like. They were asking environmental questions. And when it was explained to them that we couldn't answer those questions without electing to consider and allowing the applicant to go through the secret process to get answers to all those questions, because literally to put money into a project to get you answers to questions, I mean, you're talking about architects, you're talking about, engineers, and to put that kind of money into a project, if the board isn't even going to look at it, it's not warranted. So it was explained to them that there was an elect to consider process, and that if we did elect to consider it, they would get answers to those questions through the secret process. And at the end of that secret process, the town board is still not, obligated to support or deny a project. I mean, we've denied projects in the past at the end of that process. So it's literally just the avenue to getting the information to all the questions that they were asking. So they did support the elect to consider to get answers to those questions.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Hi. You're with us. Would you state your name and let us know what your comments are?
Willa Comparetto. I'm a member of the North Sea CAC, and I agree with the comments that Stephanie made. We had many valid questions, and Stephanie addressed most of those questions. The density was definitely something of major concern of the CAC for its members. The one thing that never was mentioned, I believe, in the beginning, but maybe Stephanie mentioned it, was the actual traffic situation that is at this intersection. Mary's Lane and Major's Path is one of the most accident-prone intersections in North Sea. Adding the amount of cars that 28 two-bedroom homes and 7 or 6 or 7 of one bedroom is going to add a tremendous amount of traffic coming in and out of Major's Path, near SYS, near the camps and the people that use SYS. It is not a good situation for that kind of density, in addition to the aquifer protection and the fact that it is still very close to the road. It may qualify for the setback zoning, but it is extremely close to the road. I think that North Sea accepted and completely supported the 2 other housing, affordable housing units plan. And this had just so many questions that they couldn't support it at that time. There needs to be a tremendous amount more work done on this, whether it's SEQA or whatever. There needs many, many questions answered before North Sea CAC will support this affordable housing units. Thank you, though.
Thank you.
We can say the traffic, that this, that doesn't support that number, and then it's they,
Cindy's right. We have to go forward to get the answers what they want.
Otherwise, you're just denying it with no answers.
Yeah, it's not fair to the person.
We have one more person.
I mean, it's up to him. He might hear the pushback and say, "I'm not going to go forward." It's totally,
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Well, not the whole time. Hello.
Hello. Yeah. So my name's Jonathan Orlando. I'm actually the resident that lives next to this property in question. And I just want to say, first off, I've been following the meeting all day. I'm very impressed with all the work that the town board does. I understand this is just one issue in a multitude of issues that the town deals with on a day-to-day basis. I just want to very briefly give you a little bit of background. My wife and I bought our house at 1150 Majors Path in January of 2022. We moved from Brooklyn, New York to the area to get away from urban, densely populated areas. And we were very, very proud to be able to buy a property in Southampton, and we worked really hard to get to the point to be able to procure that. And we're loving life in the neighborhood today. We enjoy the North Sea community. We've embraced our neighbors and our fellowships very much. So to be clear, before I purchased my property at 1150 Majors Path, I specifically noticed that the lot behind my house was available for sale, and there was discussions talking about its purchase. I noticed based on the purchase, the listing price, right, was pretty much a lower level price with regards to the size of the lot. It's an 8-acre parcel. So, my questions came up, and I actually checked with a zoning lawyer about what the area was zoned for and how big of a property could be built there. And, my understanding is the R200 or the CR200 zoning law requires 1 house per 5 acres. So, I moved forward with the understanding that one day there might be a house back there, and that I can totally appreciate. Even if there was 2 houses back there, I can totally understand. So, as you can imagine, to hear that regardless about the affordable housing concept that it goes with this, which I'm totally in supportive of, to build an apartment complex, which is what this is. It's not townhouses. It's not multiple single family homes. This is an apartment complex with 34 units being built in a wooded area next to all residential areas and single family homes. It's alarming, right? And it's the fact that the board would even consider moving forward to the secret process with this was concerning for myself. And I provided some notes that I think were distributed to the board earlier, and I just want to raise my concern along with the other folks that mentioned it as well. That I would hope the board takes into account these things, because one of the things I'm mainly concerned about is the standard that this would set with potential developers in the area going forward. What stops a developer from buying a property that's zoned for one family, going through this process, converting it to a multifamily zone, and then building apartment complexes on single-family zones, right? It sets a standard that I'm not sure that the North Sea community is in agreement with and in alignment with, and that's another one of my major concerns.
30
so thank you
seconds.
for my time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's how Sandy Hollow was created.
Kevin, is there anyone else on Zoom?
That's all.
All right, then I move to close public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's get going with the resolutions. Town Board Resolution 2025-946, co-sponsored by the entire board to authorize a funding allocation for the Town of Southampton Highway Department Water Quality Improvement Projects for 2025 Community Preservation Fund, 20% Water Quality Improvement Project funding.
Second.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. This one, it needs to be amended for that one number that I made you aware of.
I asked Christine, she said we don't have to change
You
it.
don't have to change it?
No,
Okay.
as long as it's,
As long as I
it's
noted
the
it.
correct,
It's the correct funding amount. It is
Recommended
not the
funding.
correct request amount. I just wanted to make sure.
Christine said it was fine if the requested amount wasn't correct, as long as the actual recommended funding is correct.
Or can we just
That's true,
amend
but for
it?
the sake of
Can we
accuracy,
change
I
it?
just motion to amend it.
So I move to amend to put the correct requested funding amount at $448,400
Correct, for Corwin
I'll
Lane.
second that.
for the Corwin Lane Road ending.
So it doesn't change any of the
Can you
funding,
tell
but
me,
I wanted
please,
the
where you
request
are?
to be accurate.
The
Thank
very
you.
first one.
No, I know what it
Page
is,
4.
resolution, but what page?
The very
Okay.
first Colwyn.
Resolution, so it's under number 1, Corwin Lane Road ending improvements, where it says requested funding, we should strike 328,800 and replace that with $448,400. That was the initial requested amount. So it's that number 1 designation. It doesn't change any of
Is that
the
the
overall.
same amount that you're recommending the funding for?
no.
The recommended funding remains unchanged. It is accurate.
Who seconded that?
No,
Joe? All in favor?
Aye.
And then, thank you, Jackie. So,
Thanks, Jackie.
as amended,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Go.
Town Board Resolution 2025-947, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to authorize plumbing repairs and service from Macaron Plumbing, Inc., using Suffolk County contract.
Second.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna recuse myself from this one.
All right. Bill's recusing from that, but the rest of us,
947.
yeah, all in favor, yes.
Ready, Cindy? Town Board Resolution 948 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli. Authorized purchase of an active tethered drone from Safeware Inc. using Sourcewell contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm missing a few pages.
Right there.
No, I'm missing.
All right, but we're
Yeah.
looking for.
Town Board Resolution 2025-949, co-sponsored with Councilman Warren McNamara, authorized purchase of groundkeeping repair, parts, service, and accessory use. Suffolk County contracts from Northeast Inc., Trias Inc., All Island Equipment Corp., Melby's Equipment Corp., Store Tractor Corp., and 795 Motor Sports LLC.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-950, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell, authorizes the supervisor to sign a contract extension with Community Development Corp. of Long Island. Actually, it should be CDLI, well, whatever, it's fine.
Second.
CDCLI? Or
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Town Board Resolution 2025-951, to authorize the supervisor to sign any and all documents for the New York Building Recreational Infrastructure for Communities, Kids, and Seniors Grant Program for the West Hampton Activity Center.
Second.
And I just want to thank Kara, Nick, Laura, and Tracy for all the work they did on this application. It's really a good product, and I feel confident that we're going to get funding, so.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 952 of 2025, co-sponsored by council members Iacilli and Martell. Authorize supervisor to sign contract with Lero Engineers Incorporated for professional services related to asbestos remediation design services at 59 Montauk Highway, West Hampton.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-953, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to authorize the supervisor to sign DPP with Toshiba America Business Solutions, Inc. for copy machines for police dispatch from the Eastern Suffolk BOCES contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-954, to authorize the MHC Software Holdings and subsidiaries renewal to provide maintenance and support for digital document delivery.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-955, to authorize the supervisor to approve a 2025 renewal with Contrawent LLC for their ProcureWare cloud-hosted software solution to manage the town's operations for bidding and contracts. All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-956, to authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Coastal Science and Engineering for post-project monitoring services for the Bridgehampton Beach Erosion Control District large-scale beach nourishment project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-957, to authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Coastal Science and Engineering for post-project monitoring services for the Sagaponack Beach Erosion Control District large-scale beach nourishment project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-958, to authorize the supervisor to execute a no-cost contract extension with AVA Design, Inc. for the architectural design, engineer services, as well as construction management on the ambulance facility at 1256 North Sea Road in Southampton.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-959, to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with Unis Solutions, Inc. for a software upgrade.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-960, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to authorize the supervisor to sign a consultant agreement with Susan Western to assist the Southampton Town Police Department with the development of Southampton Town Police Department directives and implementation into the Lexipol software system.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-961, co-sponsored with the entire board. Authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Hampton's Production House, LLC, for the preparation of a video highlighting the accomplishments of the Community Preservation Program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-962, co-sponsored with Councilwoman McNamara. Authorize the supervisor to sign the 2025 Friends of the Big Duck Incorporated Community Program Grant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-963, co-sponsored by Councilman Pell, to award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Best Restoration Services, Inc. for the Town Hall masonry restoration.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, I'm
And
moving.
also, just one thing, the staff will be notified when they start to do the work, so it'll be no calling up and complaining about
No, you can't
inconvenience.
guarantee that.
I know, but Nick said he's gonna do it. I trust
Can't
Nick.
guarantee no complaints. So.
Oh, no complaints, I can't, no.
As long as we're not closing down the bathrooms in December or
Mhm.
January.
So I'm moving to take resolution number 2025-968 out of order here because we need to establish the funding before we adopt the.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, where is it?
Page 28.
29.
Okay. Town Board Resolution 2025-968, co-sponsored by the entire board, to amend the 2025-2029 capital budget for the Animal Shelter Flooring and Kennels Project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-964, co-sponsored by the entire board, to award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Fortunato Sons Contracting, Inc. for the Southampton Animal Shelter kennel replacement.
Second.
All in favor?
And I just want to say that I know before I came onto the board, Councilwoman McNamara worked with Ryan just to get the ball rolling on the funding for the grant funding. And when I came in, Councilwoman McNamara was nice enough to pass over the animal shelter over to me. And we've been working really diligently to really move this forward. It's been a challenge because there's a lot of different factors involved. The foundation is an organization. They have specific interests and specific needs. Nick from Municipal Works, as well as Tom, Ryan Murphy, Deputy Supervisor, everybody's been working together very well, and I just want to commend all of our departments for working collaboratively with the animal shelter and the animal shelter themselves. I think Executive Director Chris Tiekle is doing a great job, and I just want to commend them for working with us. And also Sean Cambridge, he's been doing a lot of work here too.
Like we'll be able to get the animals placed.
Yeah, I just also want to bring up the fact that they did reach out today and they put out a social media blast asking anybody who is able to or thinking about it possibly to contact them to potentially foster an animal or two so that they can get this much needed work done, so.
Yeah.
Fostering is a good alternative if you can't adopt, because you have just
Get a
certain amount of
cat,
time.
make your kids clean the litter box, they'll never ask you for one again.
And we're gonna do the kennels, the flooring, and the septic system.
Yep.
Get it all done at the same
Yep.
time. Yeah, all right, thank you.
Town Board Resolution 2025-965, co-sponsored with Councilman Isola. Award and authorize supervisor to execute contract with Excavate Service, Inc. for Mill Creek Boat Ramp.
Second.
All in favor? Town Board Resolution 2025-966, to authorize the arbitrage payment to the U.S. Treasury.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-967, I move to substitute with Town Board Resolution Document ID number 50640, which is, why did I put it over here? Oh, here it is. To adopt the 2026 budget process schedule. We just had to move some of the dates to make it work with the advertising and give the board an opportunity to review and comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Town Board Resolution 2025-969, to amend the 2025-2029 capital budget for CPF project Harbor House Sewer Systems.
Second.
All in favor?
Town Board Resolution 2025-970, co-sponsored with Council Members Martell and McNamara. This is to authorize the use of CHF funds for the development of 12 affordable housing units at the Preserve at South Country, Quayog, New York.
So I'd like to make a motion to table that to the meeting on the 26th.
We're awaiting some questions?
The county.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, who moved it? You?
Rick moved. You moved it.
Tabling.
Thank you.
We'll
Thank you,
second the
Mike.
table. Yep. Town Board Resolution 2025-971, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell. Recall and amend Town Board Resolution 2025-205 to increase the funding for Youth Bureau consultant agreements.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-972, to authorize the settlement of litigation matter Grace M. Larson et al. Versus the Town of Southampton et al.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 973 of 2025, a local law adopting amendments to Chapter 143, Article I, licensing of home improvement contractors to further refine application and appeal procedures.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-988 to renotice public hearing to consider the acquisition of a historic preservation and
Wait
conservation.
a second, you're way ahead of us.
Carnival.
What page are we
We're
supposed to be on?
page 44.
Missing pages.
Oh, here.
Oh, what happened?
Sorry.
Oh, it's Cindy then.
Let's do those anyways.
Town Board Resolution 974 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilmembers Iacilli and Martell. Authorization of cost reimbursement waiver for Hampton-based Fire Department Carnival from July 29th to August 3rd, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution, is anybody else gonna aye? Town Board Resolution 975 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli. Authorization of cost reimbursement waiver for the Hampton Bays Fire Department Parade on July 30th, 2025, from 7 PM to 8:30 PM.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 976 of 2025, co-sponsored with council members Iacilli and Martell. Authorization of cost reimbursement waiver for the Greek Orthodox Church Hampton's Greek Festival from July 10th to July 13th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 977 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli. Authorization of cost reimbursement waiver for the Southampton Animal Shelter Foundation's 16th Annual Unconditional Love Gala that was held on July 19th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 978 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli. Tent fee adjustment for the 2025 Hampton Classic.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 979 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli. Authorized partial waiver of police fees for the 2025 Hampton Classic Horse Show.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And also, I think we're going to be giving a proclamation for a 50-year anniversary on that, the Locals Day. So if we all wanted to go and do that,
Nice.
that could be fun. I'm embarrassed to admit I've never even been to the Classic, so always seemed too far.
Town Board Resolution 980 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli. Authorizing partial waiver of fire marshal fees, 2025 Hampton Classic.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-981, co-sponsored by the entire board. The historic landmark designation of the site recognized as the Methodist Point Historical Site located at 1040 Flanders Road in Flanders.
Second.
This will make Angela very happy, as well as these two.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 982 of 2025, waive a portion of the showmobile fees for the West Hampton Chamber Fall Festival on Main.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-983 to appoint Michael McCormick to driver messenger in senior services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-985 to appoint Regina Hallahan to senior account clerk in Parks and Recreation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-986 to terminate an employee in the Comptroller's Office.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-987 to terminate an employee in the Highway Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Here you
Town Board
go.
Resolution 2025-988. This is to renotice the public hearing to consider the acquisition of a historic preservation and conservation easement on property located at 149 South Country Road in the hamlet of Remsenburg, Spionk, and amend the Community Preservation Project Plan and the CPF Management and Stewardship Plan to include said property as per the request of CPF.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That'll be August 26th that we hear that.
Thank you. What is happening
Page
here?
57? Here. Here, right here.
Everything is off.
Page 57?
I have it, yep. Town Board Resolution 2025-989. This is to notice a public hearing to consider the acquisition of a historic preservation and co-sponsored by council members Martell, McNamara, and Pell. To notice a public hearing to consider the acquisition of a historic preservation and conservation easement on property located at 11 Walnut Avenue in the hamlet of East Quogue, and amend the Community Preservation Project Plan and the CPF Management Plan and Stewardship Plan to include said property.
Second. The fitters have been waiting a while for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-990, notice of public hearing to consider amending Town Code Chapter 64, term limits, to eliminate term limits for the zoning board and the planning board members.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Town Board Resolution 2025-991, notice of public hearing to consider amending the Town Code Chapter 330-163 and Chapter 330-181 to reduce the term of zoning board and planning board members from 7 years to 4 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And those will both be on September 9th. Town Board Resolution 2025-992, co-sponsored by the entire board, a notice of public hearing to consider the acquisition of 10 Ferry Road in the village of North Haven.
Second.
And to amend the CPF project plan and the CPF management and stewardship plan to include the property.
Sorry, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
September 9th, that'll happen.
Town Board Resolution 993 of 2025, notice of public hearing to consider the acquisition of 199 Dune Road in the village of Quogue and amend the CPF management and stewardship plan to include the property.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution, 2025-994, and co-sponsored by council members McNamara, Martell, and Iacilli.
Me too, please.
Notice of public hearing to consider the acquisition of lands located on the west side of North View Hills Court, Suffolk County Tax Map number as indicated in the hamlet of Noyak, New York, and to amend the CPF management and stewardship plan to include the property.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that'll be also on September 9th, lots of public hearings. And then we just have the walk-ons. All right, Town Board Resolution ID number 49393 to commence a seeker and coordinate lead agency in connection with the change of zone application entitled Mariner Housing LLC for a change from CR 200 to multifamily on an 8.85 acre parcel in order to facilitate development of 34 units of affordable rental housing in the hamlet of North Sea.
Second.
All in-
On the motion, I just want to say this is to start answering questions that have been brought to us. And it's also, as we go through this process, we have on other projects, we have lowered the number of units. The applicant is aware that there is, obviously now pushback from, members of the CAC as well as property owners. So, this is their money that they're putting into this process and, they're gonna make that, eyes
developer.
wide open and know that they're putting the money into this project to give us these answers and start this process, that it doesn't have a predetermined outcome.
Yeah, and maybe, maybe townhouses are the way to go, or, they'll hear some of the comments that we heard tonight. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Town Board Resolution ID number 50636, the warrant number 15, capital number 15, CPF number 15 of August 12, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution ID 50638, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell, authorize the supervisor to execute a donation agreement with the Hampton-based Chamber of Commerce for a donation of 6 shell statues.
Madam Clerk, may I be added to that?
Sir, the whole town
We-
board.
yeah, we already added the
Oh,
whole town.
thank you.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And we did the substitution.
Very good. Well, if there's no other comments, then I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
No, they didn't put it on for, it'll be on the